From rats getting battered and deep fried, to contaminated dish rags being served to customers, to a Del Taco burrito heist broadcasted to YouTube.
My name's Robert Kennedy. I frequent your establishment about 2 to 3 times a week.
I've discussed dozens of fast food controversies over the years, and here they are all in one place. So come with me on this drive-through tour as we explore the internet's most insane fast food stories. Jack's secret burger sauce. On January 7th of 2017, 18-year-old Sky Juliet Samuel was working at a Jack's restaurant when she became frustrated with a customer in the drive-thru. The exact wording of their exchange is unknown, but the important thing is that it was enough to greatly upset both parties. Sky in particular got so upset that she decided to add something a bit extra to the customer's order when making it. According to later reports, she licked the cheese for the burger and then proceeded to wipe menstrual blood onto the sandwich, allegedly disguising this stuff with the condiment. Sky's co-worker witnessed all of this, and when she went home, immediately told her mother about the incident, who then proceeded to make a post on Facebook, warning any patrons that had ordered food from the restaurant in a specific window of time that their order may have been tampered with in a serious way. The victim had reported Sky, intending to get her in trouble for her poor customer service, but after seeing the post, put 2 and 2 together and reported the incident to the authorities. According to an article by KFOR News, the mother of the co-worker who had initially reported the tampering was fired a few days later, implying that Jack's had attempted to cover up the whole thing. However, this rumor was dispelled once it was revealed the employee in question was actually terminated for stealing food. Once the news became public knowledge, a wave of disgust swept through the internet, as many were horrified picturing the event in their minds. It goes without saying that Sky would be fired immediately from her position, but the story doesn't end there. This wasn't a simple prank gone wrong, it was a serious health code violation that could potentially land her in prison for up to 5 years. She eventually did turn herself into police after a warrant was issued, willingly allowing herself to be arrested. However, she was soon released on a $5,000 bond. Interestingly, according to the Daily Mail, the girl had previously worked at a Krispy Kreme nearby, but was terminated for reasons that weren't exactly clear. Hopefully she didn't add some of her own custom frosting to a strawberry donut. A spokesperson for Jack's released a lengthy statement expressing their concern regarding the ordeal.
Jack's sent out this statement saying in part, "Food safety is our top priority at Jack's Family Restaurants. The company takes any claims of improper food handling very seriously." Recently, an audio tape recording was posted on social media claiming that an employee at the restaurant in Columbus potentially violated our stringent food handling standards. The employee allegedly involved in this incident was terminated several days ago for unrelated reasons and no longer works for the company. The restaurant received an A rating. At this point, Jack's internal investigation is ongoing, and the company will do everything it can to assist authorities with their own investigation.
The story gained so much traction that Sky was covered by The Breakfast Club and was deemed Donkey of the Day by Charlemagne the God.
Let me get a bite of that period patty.
Yeah.
I'll have a menstrual cycle with cheese, please. Hold the pickles. Sky,
Yeah.
I don't know where you're eligible to work after this. Okay, you need to go to college and get you an education because this is by far one of the worst things to ever have to write on a job application. Have you ever been convicted or arrested of a crime? If so, what? Yes, I got arrested for putting period blood on people's burgers. Please give Sky Samuels the
Nothing wrong with
biggest
that,
hee-haw.
by the way.
That's disgusting.
Sky was eventually sentenced to 1 year in prison in late 2017, which is pretty nuts because in a lot of these fast food cases, most of the people just end up getting fired. Very rarely do they break the law and get time served, but that's the case with this woman. The story of Hitler Fried Chicken. In 2013, a man from London was on vacation in Bangkok, Thailand when he came across a curious fast food restaurant. He took a photo of the place and published his findings to the internet, where the photo would then be shared to Twitter by a man named Andrew Spooner. Spooner's tweet quotes the Londoner who discovered it. Quote, very bizarre fried chicken shop in Thailand. I kid you not, complete with a picture of Hitler in a bow tie. Taking a look at the image, we see that the fast food joint had apparently swapped the face of Colonel Sanders with that of the genocidal Fuhrer, and was using Hitler to further its chicken selling goals. And what you might find surprising is that this restaurant was said to have been somewhat popular with locals, getting rave reviews. Hitler Chicken had opened in June of 2013, and on its menu were fried chicken, burgers, and kebabs. A Western traveler who visited the spot said, quote, I went in for a bite last week and got some fried chicken, which was pretty good. I asked the guy behind the counter why it was called Hitler. He just shrugged his shoulders and said the owners had thought it was a good image. I couldn't think of a fucking better image to represent my chicken restaurant, you know, guys? Seriously. So naturally, this post would go somewhat viral online for just the fucking batshit juxtaposition that we got going on here. Hitler Chicken would leave the online world scratching their heads. Why would anybody use Hitler as their mascot? And not only that, why was it working? Well, to better make sense of this bizarre marketing ploy, allow me to introduce you to what has been dubbed as Nazi chic. Nazi chic has been described as the use of style, imagery, and paraphernalia in clothing or pop culture related to Nazi Germany. Throughout the 2010s, Nazi chic had become somewhat of a fad within Southeast Asia, Thailand in particular. It was quite popular with the youth, who were the ones who were the most ignorant of Hitler's deeds and symbolism. In fact, it's said that at the time that it wasn't all too uncommon to find school children dressing up as Nazis, and bootleggers were selling Nazi-themed t-shirts and artwork around the country because people wanted this type of apparel. And while it's impossible to say why this symbolism was so popular in Southeast Asia at the time, I'll just go back to what I said earlier. I think you had a lot of young people who were just completely ignorant about what Hitler did. I think the Holocaust is something we know way more about as Westerners, and maybe, you know, it's not really talked about that much in Asia. To exemplify the popularity of Nazi chic at the time, there was once a case in 2016 involving a Taiwanese high school orchestrating a Christmas parade, wherein the students dressed up and marched in Nazi-themed uniforms, performing Zig Heils and constructing a cardboard tank to boot. And apparently the theme of this parade was voted on by the students themselves. This parade would go viral online and drew international criticism, resulting in the school administrators being humiliated and later apologizing for the parade. Quote, when reviewing the parade beforehand, we failed to closely consider the meaning of the historical facts. I mean, seriously, it's like they're treating the garb as like a fucking Halloween costume, you know? And with this context explained, let's return back to Hitler Fried Chicken. When this image went viral in the West, many were confused, but a lot more were outraged by it, understandably so. And considering the fact that Hitler's face was swapped with Colonel Sanders and they were using the KFC theming, it was only a matter of time before the KFC people came after this Hitler chicken place. After discovering the viral Hitler Fried Chicken image, the company would make a statement regarding the shop. We find it extremely distasteful and are considering legal action since it's an infringement of our brand trademark and has nothing to do with us. These threats appeared to successfully have spooked the owners, as after KFC spoke up, Hitler Fried Chicken changed its name to Hler and allegedly took the sign down featuring the KFC-style branding. There's not much else to report about this story, and it's said that Southeast Asia's fascination with Hitler still remains to this day, at least in a smaller proportion.
While we're on the topic of fast food, can we talk about how expensive this has gotten? Like, Jesus. Prices on everything have gone up over the last few years, and outside of food, it seems like companies and services have all taken up this obnoxious subscription-based model for everything. So with prices this high on everything, it's important now more so than ever to have your finances in order. Otherwise, you could be wasting hundreds or potentially thousands of dollars over the course of the year. Personally, I found today's sponsor, Rocket Money, invaluable when it comes to canceling unwanted subscriptions, setting budgets, and lowering my bills. The Rocket Money app makes personal finance easy, giving you a clear picture of your net worth, monthly expenditures, and credit score all in one place. My favorite Rocket feature is when it comes to subscriptions. Rocket makes it easy for you to see exactly what apps, websites, or services you're paying a monthly subscription to. And I'd be willing to bet a lot of you guys are subscribed to some stuff that you totally forgot about and are shilling out money money for something that you don't even use. You could be using that money to buy Chick-fil-A, dude. Rocket can cancel unused subscriptions for you, saving you a bunch of money in the process. As a matter of fact, Rocket Money has helped its customers save up to $740 a year when you use all of Rocket's premium features. They also have helped customers save over $500 million collectively in canceled subscriptions. Take control of your finances today. Go to rocketmoney.com/wavy to get started for free. The Del Taco Scammer. When you're surfing the web, it's often common to see articles and videos showcasing secret menu items and menu hacks. One fast food hack out there is actually illegal to participate in, which brings us to the topic of the Del Taco Scammer. Meet Robert Echeverria. In 2008, Robert was featured in a rough shot video published to YouTube titled How to Scam Del Taco. This infamous video showcased Robert making a call to his local Del Taco restaurant wherein he attempts to trick the restaurant workers into giving him free food under the pretense that they had screwed up a previous order he had made, which he never actually made an order. Robert and his affiliates shot this video in the parking lot of the very Del Taco that they would wind up scamming. The act took place in Rialto, California, about 50 miles east of Los Angeles, and the man was aided by two friends, 18-year-old Ian Roman and 18-year-old Brian Fawcett. Rob's deceptive phone call ruse involved him telling a story where he claims that he sent his two sons to pick up Del Taco and that the restaurant had completely screwed up the order and put sour cream on everything. He claims that after getting this screwed up order, he called Del Taco corporate over the matter and was given the green light to get a free meal.
How you doing, Rosie? My name's Robert Kennedy. I frequent your establishment about 2 to 3 times a week. And I'm calling about an incident that happened earlier. I talked to the manager. They were getting off at the time. They told me to call in when I got home from work. Basically, what happened was I sent my son Isaiah and my son Cody in for not a substantial amount of food, but for a good amount of food. And when the food came back, I told them to take it back. They had no receipt from the order, and the order contained sour cream, and I don't eat sour cream. And at the same time, our sodas were wrong. And when I called, I actually called corporate. Corporate told me to call the manager and that they will fix it. So that's what I'm basically calling for.
It seems like Rob has rehearsed this story. You gotta wonder how many times he's pulled this stunt. Now, when it had become clear that the restaurant workers were buying his tall tale, he would send Ian and Brian inside to pick up their free meal. Under the guise of them being his sons, the two 18-year-olds would go in and pick up the fraudulent spread. The Del Taco evac was caught on camera by Rob's gang of scammers. Rob's minions would then return to his vehicle with a bag filled to the brim of Del Taco. The Tex-Mex kingpin could be seen braggadociously munching his spoils as the video comes to a close. The Del Taco scam was a complete success. Rob's Del Taco scam tutorial video was uploaded to YouTube on February 22nd of 2008 to the Nickel and Dime YouTube channel. Opinions from the public would quickly flood into its comment section, with many praising Rob for his elaborate scheme while others warned him of potential Del Taco retribution. This guy is a good con man. The simple details he adds really makes it more believable. The son's name, saying he has salmonella, etc. That seems like quite a lot of effort to go through to avoid paying even a few bucks for a few tacos. Using Del Taco's kindness against them, this is what makes the world a colder and less kind place. I hope this guy pays the maximum price under the law for this. He's a true jerk. Clever social engineering tactic. I don't think this was a good idea in any way, but I'll give the dude credit. He's a good talker. I frequent your establishment 2 to 3 times a week. Yeah, right. Looks more like 23 times a week. If this guy needs anything, it's not Del Taco. In the early days of YouTube, the Del Taco scam video was truly one of a kind, and it went viral, amassing tens and eventually hundreds of thousands of views. Unfortunately for Rob, though, this attention meant that the Del Taco scam video would eventually make it back to Del Taco themselves. Perhaps with YouTube being so niche at the time, Rob never expected expected his fast food victim to find the video. For this naivety, he would be punished severely. Apparently, a viewer who knew Rob in real life recognized him in the video and called police over the matter, reporting his fraudulent activity to authorities. With all the evidence they needed publicly viewable on YouTube, they promptly tracked the man down and arrested Rob. This obese fraudster was hit with a felony commercial burglary charge and placed on a $125,000 bond. Police had this to say about Rob after he was arrested and put in jail. He was quite proud of himself there in the video, but he cried like a big baby back here. Both Brian Fawcett and Ian Hobbs were also arrested due to their connection with the Del Taco scam. In March of 2008, Robert would plead guilty and was sentenced to serve 30 days in jail along with 3 years of probation and was completely banned from the Rialto Del Taco. After the conclusion of the case, the district attorney commented, "I tried to get him to stay away from all Del Tacos, but the judge said just the one." As for Ian and Brian, unfortunately, I'm unable to ascertain exactly what their sentences were, but I would imagine it was less than Rob the Kingpin. The Wendy's Gator tossing incident. The story begins in October of 2015 with 23-year-old Florida man Joshua James. Joshua James had been described as somewhat of an outdoorsman, a Florida redneck with a penchant for animal wrestling. Friends of the man say that Joshua recreationally caught snakes, lizards, and most importantly to this story, alligators. On one October day, Josh and a small group of associates managed to wrangle a gator, a young one approximately 3.5 feet in length. Initially aggressive and thrashing, the wild reptile would eventually become docile, likely exhausted from its fight with the Florida men. With a live gator now in their possession, the boys begin to ask themselves, what next? Fried gator? A new pet? Release the poor thing? None of the above. Joshua James and his friends, likely inspired by some of the viral fire in the hole videos on social media at the time, decided they'd put their own Florida spin on the already dangerous prank. They decided instead of throwing soda at a fast food employee, they would throw their live alligator into a drive-thru window. The story goes that Joshua and one of his gator wrangling accomplices would later pull up to the Wendy's drive-thru restaurant located in Royal Palm Beach, Florida. The men ordered a drink and then drove up to the drive-thru window to meet the unfortunate soul on the receiving end of their devious stunt. During the drive-thru interaction, the worker turned their back to the group, and seeing their opportunity, Josh pulled the gator from the back seat of his truck and hurled the tormented reptile through the drive-thru window. The startled beast hissed as it landed inside Wendy's, sending workers into a panic. The cashier was so terrified by the presence of the alligator, she jumped out of the drive-thru window as Josh sped away in his truck. The gator tossing gang likely feeling that they'd committed the greatest act of fire in the hole in history. And while this may be true, the act would come with consequences, as not only did Josh and his friends harm the gator by throwing it, they petrified everybody inside of the Wendy's restaurant. Wendy's management would notify authorities over the gator inside of their facility. It was later captured and released back into the wild by Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation officers. They traced the soft drink purchased at the time of the gator throwing back to Joshua James. After a thorough investigation, the man was arrested several months later. He was taken into custody where he would confess to being the Wendy's gator thrower. As a result of his alligator antics, Joshua was facing some pretty serious charges. The most remarkable of these charges being aggravated assault with a deadly weapon with the intent to do less than murder and unlawful possession of a gator. After being arrested and charged, the man posted bail and was released from jail. Shortly after getting out, Joshua was approached by a group of journalists and he agreed to do an ad hoc interview with them. And the man was rather candid in the interview, saying that he didn't mean any harm by his stunt, he just wanted to do something funny. And he also claims that he had a friend that worked at the Wendy's, so he thought it wouldn't be that big of a deal if he threw the gator in there. Well, you were wrong about that, pal.
So the person you threw it at was your friend or no?
No, it was a different person, but I'm sure he's working there at the time and got a chance to see it. So.
Do you have anything to say to the people at Wendy's?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry for what I did. I mean, just being stupid, not thinking, and obviously I found out what the consequences were, and I got to pay for them, so.
And so you never meant to harm anybody, you're saying?
No, absolutely not. I never meant for anybody to get hurt or anything like that. You know, it was a good laugh kind of thing. Yeah.
In May of 2016, Joshua would plead guilty to his charges, which had been slightly softened. These charges included misdemeanor assault and unlawful possession of a gator. The man was given 12 months of probation and compelled to complete 75 hours of community service, and he had to pay a fine and court costs of $1,200. A Florida wildlife worker commented on the judge's sentencing. He may have thought this was something funny he was doing, but I've been bitten by alligators. I've seen what alligators can do, and I think that's probably something the judge took a look at. The gator tosser's disregard for public safety landed him a criminal record. Jollibee's fried towel. Jollibee is notable for being the only internationally headquartered fast food chain in this compendium. But that just means that they fucked up so badly that the story went internationally viral. Now to begin, what exactly is Jollibee? Jollibee is a Filipino-American fusion fast food joint based out of the Philippines. From spaghetti to shrimp to fried chicken to burgers, they do it all. And with a self-stated company mission of spreading joy, you can bet your bottom dollar that Jollibee aims to please with its fast food creations. But in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, a disaster was on the horizon. When news about the virus began spreading in the spring of 2020, Jollibee was one of the first global chains to aggressively respond to consumer fears, announcing a franchise-wide effort to bolster food and consumer safety. Mask and glove policies were enacted, rigorous sanitation protocols were followed, and deliveries even included the respective body temperatures of the store crew and delivery driver that handled the customer's food. These guys had completely revamped their health and safety practices and were running a clean operation here. But ironically enough, it would be an object associated with cleanliness and sanitization that would end up being the biggest health and safety blemish in the company's history. The disaster begins unfolding on June 1st of 2021, when a woman hailing from the Philippines named Alik Marie shares the following harrowing experience with her Jollibee chicken meal.
Worst experience ever, had Jollibee delivered. Mukha siyang chicken, di ba? Tigas eh. Gulat ako. And it's not chicken, it's a towel.
She shares photos and videos of what appears to be a deep-fried dish rag. She says, just something that frustrated me this late. She says, we had Jollibee delivered via Grab, ordered chicken for my son. While I was trying to get him a bite, I found it super hard to even slice. Tried opening it up with my hands and to my surprise, a deep-fried towel. This is really disturbing. How the hell do you get the towel in the batter and even fry it? I really thought that the posts complaining about weird stuff in their orders were just all made up. Now I know that it really happens. So disgusting and embarrassing to think you're even branched in the BGC. There's a first for everything, and this has been the worst first. Generally speaking, these deep-fried horror stories almost always hinge on a chicken tender vaguely resembling a rat or something like that. But taking a look at Alik's comprehensive photography of her fast food encounter, it was clear as day what we were dealing with here. Ain't no way around it, this was 100% a fucking fried towel. And what makes this even more bizarre is that you wouldn't get a fried towel simply by, like a towel in the kitchen accidentally falling into the fryer. This thing had to be processed by hand in the sense that someone had to put it in flour, get it in an egg wash, batter it up, and then place it in a deep fryer. There were a lot of steps and a lot of personnel that likely encountered this rag before it was fried. And what makes this even more disturbing is the fact that this is a kitchen rag. At the very least, it was contaminated with cleaning solution, and at the worst, it was just contaminated from cleaning up some disgusting mess or sludge in the kitchen. Needless to say, pretty disgusting, right? Alik's fried towel would begin making its rounds on Facebook, and in short time, you had thousands chiming in, sharing their thoughts on the grotesque discovery and making jokes at the expense of Jollibee. The batter must have been contaminated too when that towel was breaded. We will never know who got those potentially contaminated chicken joys that day. What if the kitchen towel has chemicals in it? That's the secret ingredient. Word of the Jollibee fried towel incident would spread from Facebook to the greater internet, and, well, they had a PR disaster on their hands. Thankfully, for the sake of the public, Alik's Facebook post contained an image showing her online order receipt. and the exact Jollibee location that the fried towel was ordered from. This receipt indicated that the Jollibee kitchen responsible for this fibrous monstrosity was the location at 32nd and Rizal Street in Bonifacio Global City, located in the Philippines. When news of the towel spread, folks avoided this location like the plague, and the Jollibee company was facing mounting pressure, with the public demanding them to open an official investigation into this alleged linen frying franchise. In the meantime, humiliating videos began appearing on YouTube where people parodied the situation by showing viewers how to cook a Jollibee fried towel for themselves.
Pwede na siyang prituin ngayon, so yan, siksik lang natin yung magkakaprito. Unahin ko muna ilagay yung ating mga manok. So i-deep fried natin siya sa 170 degrees Celsius ng oil. Tapin nyo na lang yung recipe na to. At napakasarap po ng chicken na to, ng Ledon, yung nagpa-deliver, ganyan na ganyan. Diba? Pag bukas mo yung sa gitna, towel talagang itsura niya.
On June 2nd, a leak would make an appearance on popular Filipino talk show Raffy Tuflo in Action. In this broadcast, she would explain her reasoning for coming forward with the story, that being that she wanted to, quote, raise awareness about the practices at Jollibee. And she also seemed to suggest that suing the company for damages was on the table.
Yes,
It's not
po.
about suing Jollibee for damages. Hindi po yon?
It is part of it.
With mounting social media scrutiny, the company was being pressed by customers around the world to make a statement. And approximately 48 hours after a leaked fried towel post, the Jollibee company would make a statement confirming officially that they were looking into the matter. Not only confirming that they were investigating, but that the restaurant responsible for serving the towel was shutting down. This concerns the customer complaint on food ordered late evening of June 1st from a franchise store in Bonifacio Global City. We are deeply concerned about this matter and have conducted a thorough investigation on the incident. It is unfortunate that deviations from Jollibee's standard food preparation procedures occurred on the part of a certain personnel of the store. As a result of this incident, we have directed the Jollibee Bonifacio stopover branch to close for 3 days starting tomorrow, June 3rd, to thoroughly review its compliance with procedures and retrain its store team to ensure that this will not happen again. We will also send out reminders to all stores to ensure the strict adherence to Jollibee's food preparation systems. While this corporate speak press release is vague in regards to the exact origins of the towel, I think when you break this thing down, you get a little insight as to what may have actually happened here. This sentence here, deviations from Jollibee's standard food preparations procedures occurred on the part of a certain personnel of the store, sounds to me that Jollibee looked into this and determined that the blunder occurred on behalf of one employee. And if this was a complete accident or intentional sabotage by this employee, that is unknown to this day. But if you were to ask my opinion on what happened, it sounds like to me that somebody got lazy, a dish rag ended up in a chicken prep area, it got mixed in with some flour, nobody noticed it, and it went into the deep fryer with the rest of the chicken. And bam, a legend is born. In the end, Jollibee would eventually allow the fried towel franchise location to reopen after a compliance review was completed, and the location remains open to this day. It's unknown exactly what happened to the employee directly responsible. As for a leak, well, her public statements regarding Jollibee pretty much ended after her appearance on the Raffy Tuflo show, and there's no publicly available evidence indicating that she ever filed suit against the company for the dish rag entree. Unfortunately for Jollibee, this situation was for many in the West the first time that they had ever heard of the company. And with Jollibee currently in the process of executing plans to aggressively grow their restaurant chain in the United States, we'll have to see if this situation and the blemish that it caused has any effect on the appetite of Western diners.
Burger King foot lettuce.
Number 15, Burger King foot lettuce. The last thing you'd want in your Burger King burger is someone's foot fungus, but as it turns out, that might be what you get.
Despite how much of a joke Burger King foot lettuce has become in recent years, this story is actually one of the most disgusting and well-documented cases of fast food contamination by rogue employees in the history of fast food. The story of Burger King foot lettuce begins back on July 16th of 2012. At 11:38 p.m., an anonymous internet user posted the following image to 4chan's B-board. The image featured an individual clearly in a fast food setting actively contaminating 2 bins of lettuce by way of literally standing in the bins themselves 1 foot per bin. The anonymous worker added the following text to their 4chan post.
This is the lettuce you eat at Burger King. Now, this photo has some pretty sickening implications. We've got a potentially rogue Burger King employee here contaminating burger lettuce with their non-slip work shoes that are probably coated in sludge and bacteria. And if this lettuce were to make it out of the restaurant into a customer's hands, you're exposing the public to potentially lethal stomach bugs. Now, 4chan themselves are no strangers to participating in fucked up pranks, but generally speaking, they save this nasty stuff for people who cross them. If you're messing with the innocent public, they're not gonna take too kindly to this, and they're probably gonna come after you. And not long after the foot lettuce image was posted, you began to see users responding to this rogue BK employee with outrage. 4chan would make it their mission to unmask this rogue Burger King employee, find the Burger King that they worked at, and make sure that they faced punishment for their crimes. Now, considering that the photo itself features nothing more than a guy's legs, you might consider such a feat to be impossible. But the only reason that you think that is because you're a normal and well-adjusted person with a social life. With unlimited time on their hands and plenty of manpower, the basement-dwelling denizens of 4chan are capable of some CIA levels of digital forensics, which of course brings us to the topic of EXIF image data. For those of you unaware, anytime that you take a photo, be it with a phone or a digital camera, the device attaches some metadata to that photo. EXIF metadata will generally include the time that the photo was taken, the device that it was taken on, the image resolution and other camera settings, and the GPS coordinates or the location of where the photo was taken. And all of this EXIF metadata is viewable within a simple properties check of the photos file on your personal computer. It's really that easy. Fun fact, when infamous antivirus pioneer John McAfee was on the run from Guatemalan officials in 2012, the feds managed to track John down and arrest him using EXIF image data associated with the photo featuring him that was posted to the internet days prior. Now, with all this said, don't think that you can just download people's photos and do properties checks on them and instantly dox whoever you want. It doesn't work like that anymore. It's not that easy. Why? Well, because as the internet has evolved and more people have gotten on social media, most platforms nowadays actively strip EXIF data from images uploaded to their platforms. However, back in 2012, 4chan was not one such platform that did this. And I think you know where this is going. One 4chan user knowledgeable in the EXIF arts would download the foot lettuce photo and peruse through its metadata. And lo and behold, after scrying through the EXIF, they discovered GPS coordinates revealing the photo was taken in the most crackhead state in all of America, Ohio. More specifically, it was taken in the Mayfield suburb of Cleveland. And what just so happened to be at these coordinates? Well, that was a Burger King restaurant located at the 1400 block of Wharton Boulevard. Bingo. They had found their crime scene. By 11:50 p.m., just 12 minutes after the Burger King foot lettuce photo was posted, 4chan and the EXIF wizards on the board had tracked down the location of where this guy worked. With the store's phone number publicly available online, board members tried to call the restaurant in an attempt to get a hold of a manager so that they could potentially intervene with the lettuce contamination. The following day, one user claimed to have got a hold of this manager and shared the details of the call. This manager was quoted as saying this in response to the news. What? I'm gonna find who closed up last week because they're gonna have hell to pay. I don't know what kind of game these kids are playing, but it's sick and pathetic. While the manager was investigating the matter, 4chan handed the story over to local media. Local outlets would go on to publish various stories regarding the questionable lettuce handling practices at Mayfield's Burger King restaurant, and the story went viral online. And the internet and the local community were outraged, and they demanded justice be taken against the foot lettuce fiend. Finally, after a grueling 48-hour period of no updates, Cleveland news site CleveScene broke the news, revealing that the employees responsible had been identified and the matter had been investigated thoroughly. Turns out, in response to the outrage, the Burger King restaurant in question was subjected to an emergency inspection by the County Board of Health. According to reports, county health inspectors would make a shocking discovery, that being that the rogue employees had contaminated more than just the 2 bins of lettuce seen in the photos. Apparently, they had soiled like heaps of the stuff. But thankfully, due to the county's inspection, this contaminated lettuce was caught before it made it out of the kitchen, and none of it was ever served to customers. In the wake of the discovery, all of the contaminated lettuce was discarded and the food safety threat neutralized. Turns out that the foot lettuce freak featured in the infamous photo actually had 2 accomplices, and after the health inspector's investigation, the 3 foot lettuce contaminators were all fired. case closed. It goes without saying that the Burger King foot lettuce story has become the stuff of legend over the years. It's a fast food horror story mixed with a classic 4chan vigilante justice campaign. It really doesn't get any better than that. The legend of Lil Ugly Dude.
Quintarius Brown says he couldn't figure out why people behind the counter were laughing before he got his order. When he saw the words Lil Ugly Dude printed at the bottom, he ran out of the restaurant.
Much like rude customers, rude service workers are a dime a dozen in today's busy world, but rarely will they directly insult you to your face. Usually workers will have enough common sense not to berate customers or call them names at the risk of losing their job. But occasionally things do slip through the cracks and employees just can't seem to help themselves. In 2016, a 15-year-old teenager named Quintarius made an order at a Wendy's located in Mobile, Alabama. At first, everything seemed normal until he noticed the workers laughing at him as he received his order. Confused, he looked at the receipt and found out that somebody had inputted his name as Lil Ugly Dude. While the insult may seem tame, it had a significant impact on the young man. According to his mother Tanisha, Quintarius had suffered from mental health issues his entire life, and the incident was a massive blow to his self-esteem. When she found out about the incident, she was furious, posting about the issue to Facebook in an attempt to garner support, stating the following: "My child was so embarrassed and upset, he said the whole store was laughing at him, including the manager. I play about a lot of things, but my kids isn't one. My ghetto side was telling me to go back up there and let him have it, but I'd rather do it the right way." She would further express her frustration in an interview with the local news outlet WKRG, characterizing the incident as blatant bullying.
We get the receipt and I looked at it and say, "Little Ugly Dude," and I'm like, really?
It hurt my feelings. It made me cry. I was embarrassed and I felt bad.
Because it's considered bullying. You know, you don't go around making fun of people because you don't know their situations. That's bullying.
Quintarius was obviously extremely upset by what had happened, as anyone else would be, honestly. I mean, he got violated by these dudes. The story would gain traction across the internet and started getting covered by numerous media outlets. Given how much negative publicity the incident had caused, Wendy's was quick to step in and offer an apology. Ed Sheffield, a spokesperson for the company, issued a statement claiming the employees in question had been fired, issuing an apology to the family as well as the victim himself. It's unclear exactly why the employee felt that they needed to do this. The insult really doesn't make sense, as, I mean, Quintarius is like a relatively normal looking guy. And like, why would you make a paper trail for if the guy did find it? Like, it's really easy to just be like, bro, like, what the fuck? Like, it's on the receipt. He could just bring it back and be like, this has the time, the date, probably even the cashier's name on it. And then you guys are fucking with me in a way that I can easily backtrace. These guys just must have been really bored, I guess. Regardless, the incident certainly soured the young man's perception regarding the fast food establishment. But hopefully he took some solace in the fact that those responsible had been held accountable. The Wendy's in question is still in operation today with a surprising Google rating of 3.4. But that was the story of Lil Ugly Dude, not to be mistaken with Lil Ugly Mane. The Rusty Krab. In the world of fictional restaurants, the Krusty Krab might just be the most iconic. Owned and operated by Eugene Krabs of Bikini Bottom, this penny-pinching crustacean has made a great fortune over the years off the backs of SpongeBob and Squidward. Krabs' arch nemesis is rival fast food restaurant owner Sheldon J. Plankton, who restlessly attempts to steal Mr. Krabs' Krabby Patty's secret formula. You might say that Plankton is an intellectual property thief of sorts, but as we all know, Plankton has yet to be successful at stealing Mr. Krabs' formula. But what if I told you that a Texas-based restaurant was? The story begins in 2021 when a company called Pixie Universal opened a SpongeBob-themed pop-up restaurant in Houston, Texas. Funded by a businessman named Sam Chand, this restaurant was called the Rusty Krab. And these guys really pulled out all the stops when it comes to looking like the real Krusty Krab. The Rusty Krab sold SpongeBob SpongeBob themed food items and drinks, Krabby Patties included. And the restaurant's interior featured an admittedly impressive real-life adaptation of Mr. Krabs' diner. However, while the theming was well executed, the food and drink quality wasn't getting the ravest of reviews. Customers complained about having to pay for a ticket to get in. The food and drink prices were high as well, and an excessive amount of mandatory gratuity was added to each bill. Which this is hilarious to me because all the stuff I just mentioned sounds like some shit that Mr. Krabs would pull in the Krusty Krab.
Money!
Now keep in mind, this restaurant was in no way licensed by Nickelodeon or SpongeBob. And that begs the question, is this legal? At the time, Mr. Chand claimed that the Rusty Krab was an artistic interpretation of the fictional restaurant and had no affiliation with the actual brand. The website said, quote, "We are not affiliated, authorized, endorsed by, or in any way officially connected with Nickelodeon or the SpongeBob brand directly, or any of its subsidiaries or its affiliates. This is Kefi HTX's artistic adaptation recreation of an amazing series that added value to our childhood." So yeah, they were very much forthcoming that they had nothing to do with SpongeBob. It's not like they were trying to hide from it. And it's almost as if they seem like they would be protected legally by some sort of parody exemption under IP trademark law. In this news interview, a woman named Asha, who was apparently affiliated with ownership, candidly spoke about the show and how it was her dream to open a Krusty Krab style diner one day.
Hey, good morning to you, Jose. So, like a lot of folks, I'm a huge SpongeBob fan, so I was very excited about this. We've got Asha. She is the owner, and you helped bring the Rusty Krab to life. Talk about this experience.
Yes, well, I've been a SpongeBob fan literally since I was about 10 years old, so this is a lifelong dream of mine to be able to recreate something that was so nostalgic in my childhood. I really wanted to give it a feel of people actually being in Bikini Bottom, and I believe we nailed it, don't you think?
You guys absolutely nailed it.
Despite the complaints from prices, the Rusty Krab would be somewhat of a popular attraction in Houston, but its virality online would be an issue, as eventually it found its way back to Viacom CBS, the at-the-time owners of SpongeBob. On May 25th of 2021, Viacom sent a cease and desist letter to the Rusty Krab. However, after receiving this letter, the very next day, the Rusty Krab announced that it was extending its run through August 1st, and that tickets would be available to enter until the end of 2021. Taking this as a signal that the Rusty Krab wasn't going to cease or desist, Viacom decided they were just going to sue him. In their lawsuit, Viacom comments that the restaurant featured illustrations and designs that were exact copies of those featured in their SpongeBob SquarePants cartoon. In addition to this, they cite workers dressed up just like the characters from the show. As a defense, the owners at Pixie Universal would state that the Rusty Krab was made as parody, and that their imitation of the restaurant should be allowed under parody exemptions in copyright law. However, unfortunately for the Rusty Krab, a judge would disagree, as it was later determined that the Rusty Krab had violated Viacom's intellectual property rights. As a result of this lawsuit, the company behind the creation of the Rusty Krab was ordered by the courts to pay $6 million in copyright damages to Paramount, who had recently acquired Viacom, as well as the transfer of all Rusty Krab online domain names to Paramount as well. I gotta say, I'm honestly kind of conflicted on this one because of the videos that I've seen of the inside of the Rusty Krab, they did a damn good job of imitating the cartoon version of the restaurant. So I guess the next thing I'd like to ask is, like, Paramount, can you guys make your own Krusty Krab at Universal or whatever fucking park Nickelodeon is associated with? That would be pretty sick. But that was the story of the Rusty Krab, the KFC Fried Rat. The story begins on June 10th of 2015 when a customer makes his way to his local Compton, California KFC restaurant. In respect to privacy here, I'll be redacting the man's name, and for the purpose of the video, we'll just be calling this guy D. So D hits up this KFC and orders him a 3-piece tenders box and makes his way home, likely eager to dig into his finger-licking chicken. However, according to D, there was nothing finger-licking about this meal, rather it was almost vomit-inducing. He shares his experience with this disgusting thing that he witnessed the next day on Facebook. Don't eat fast food. I went to KFC yesterday and bought a 3-piece chicken tender. As I bit into it, I noticed it was very hard and rubbery, which made me look at it. As I looked down, I noticed that it was in the shape of a rat with a tail. It sent deep chills throughout my whole body. I've been feeling weird ever since. I bought this in Compton, California on Wilmington and 120th. I've never seen chicken like this before. It's sick. Jesus Christ, bro. That's fucking crazy. Now, you would be kidding yourself if you said that this fried critter didn't at least somewhat resemble a rodent. I mean, what the hell is that, like, tail appendage looking thing? This thing is certainly a creepy looking sight. And I think it goes without saying that the consequences for a restaurant allowing a huge rat to get into a deep fryer and then into the hands of a customer, those are most certainly serious consequences. If this really was a rat, KFC would not only have a damaging PR disaster on their hands, they would potentially have a painful legal problem as well. Dee's experience with the alleged KFC Fried Rat quickly began going viral on Facebook and other social media sites. Dee would upload additional photos of the rat as interest grew, and he even uploaded a video showcasing the bizarre tender. The video really sells it for me. This is like a thick-ass Ratatouille mouse battered in country fried, bro. Poor Remy. They got Remy. Remy tripped and fell in the deep fryer. And with these photos and the videos circulating, it would soon become clear that the general public believed Dee in his story and were avoiding KFC for the time being. What's that? Fried rat? Bro, I will never go to KFC. After watching your picture, I have decided. The sad thing is, it really looked like chicken. Had he not been paying attention or the tail wasn't there, he would have probably thought it was that, SMH. As the Fried Rat story was going viral on social media, Dee would actually post an additional update that would add even more fuel to this social media firestorm. He claimed that he went to the Compton KFC that he got the tender from, and the manager confirmed that the thing he had was a rat. Went back to KFC yesterday and spoke to the manager. She said it is a rat and apologized. It's time for a lawyer. Be safe, don't eat fast food. Yeah, and this anecdote really made the situation worse for KFC because it appeared as if there was some sort of authority figure at KFC co-signing the claim. Things really started getting out of hand here, and after about a week since Dee's post, the independent and mainstream media outlets started picking up on this story and spread it across the nation to even more people. It was fried rat mania in the US.
A fast food chain is taking a licking for its finger-licking good chicken shaped like a rat?
KFC, they've come out swinging. They're denying that this has actually become a PR debacle for them, this denial. One problem, KFC, the photos just don't lie in this case.
He's apparently keeping the piece of chicken or rat or whatever it is in case he wants to press charges against KFC.
But in the case of the supposed rat, the unanswered question, what's lurking under the breading?
Dee would even make an appearance on the Randy Economy radio show where he details his encounter eating the meal.
It was very nasty. I spit it out. I looked down at my hand and I realized that it was in the shape of a rat with a tail and everything in it. Very hard and rubbery. The manager actually freaked out to confirm that it was a rat. She apologized for it. They actually just offered me a free meal. Nauseous, woozy, I can't eat.
So it was one of the biggest stories in the United States by this point, and I'm sure Dee loved the publicity, but this publicity had a double-edged effect to it, in the sense that, well, now there's thousands of skeptics looking into this shit. It's important to note that in the time that Dee's story was going viral, KFC had made public statements directed at his claims of a fried rat, and KFC was suggesting from the start that the whole incident was some sort of misunderstanding or a possible hoax. KFC takes customer claims very seriously, and we are continuing to investigate this matter. Our chicken tenders often vary in size and shape, and we currently have no evidence to support this claim. We are aggressively trying to reach Mr. and we request that he return to the restaurant with the product for testing, or call us at 1-800-CALL-KFC. Apparently, KFC had been trying to reach out to Dee in order to resolve this problem, even offering to test this alleged rat in an independent lab to confirm if it was rat meat via DNA testing. But Dee wasn't responding or cooperating with KFC. KFC has made various attempts to contact this customer, but he is refusing to talk to us directly or through an attorney. Our chicken tenders often vary in size and shape, and we currently have no evidence to support this allegation. We have extended the opportunity to have an independent lab evaluate the product at our own expense, but the customer refuses to provide the product in question. You would think that if one felt like they were really served a rat by KFC, that they would be bending over backwards to get this DNA test done if, they could prove it for real and maybe get some kind of legal payout in court. But strangely, that wasn't happening. Anyways, when it was revealed that D wasn't cooperating with what appeared to be an obvious slam dunk win or way to get paid out of this situation, people really started to look into him and become skeptical about his original claim. For example, in D's original post, he claims, quote, "As I bit into it, I noticed it was very hard and rubbery, which made me look at it." And recall in the radio interview, he describes taking a bite of the tender and tasting it and spitting it out.
Very hard and rubbery. It was very nasty. I spit it out.
And also recall that in one of the tender photos, you can clearly see what appears to be a bite taken out of the tender. Now, with these three things in mind, let's also remind ourselves of the fact that D took photos and a video of the tender in what appears to be its whole and unbitten state. To me, this suggests that D noticed the unusual shape of the tender prior to taking a bite instead of after, like he claims in his original Facebook post. I mean, why would you take your phone out and record the tender if you didn't think there was something unusual about it from the get-go? What, is this guy in the habit of recording every KFC meal he eats? The only person that does that is Review Bruh.
All right, here's an up-close and personal review.
And continuing with this line of logic, if D noticed the strange rat-like appearance of the tender upon opening the box and was concerned enough to record it, why wouldn't he just break off a piece of the tender to inspect it rather than just plunging it in his mouth and taking a bite? Seems weird to bite into something that you have a suspicion might be a disgusting rat. It's like if I clearly see a bunch of maggots writhing around on my burger patty, I'm not gonna take a bite of it just to prove my suspicions. Yeah, I think I'm trusting my eyes on that one and letting the taste buds sit on the sidelines. There's no way to know what the hell was going through this guy's head, but there's just a lot of weird inconsistencies with his story. He seemed kinda sus. Other criticisms from skeptics pointed out the coloring and the texture of this alleged rat meat. You can see in the photos that it's white meat, and rat meat would not only be darker in color, it would have bones in it still, because, if a rat from the kitchen fell into the fryer, he's still gonna have those inside of him. Unless this was some kind of undiscovered rare boneless rat species that's just kind of found its way into the fryer. And what was D's response to the criticisms from the skeptics? Honestly, it doesn't matter what others think. I know what I bit into, and what it looks like. Never in life have seen a chicken strip with a long tail. Yep. Still sticking with that story. So the tides were definitely turning here, and the public was starting to believe that this KFC Fried Rat was just another hoax perpetrated by some guy who was either looking for a legal payout or just attention. And not only was the public becoming more skeptical, KFC was getting more aggressive in their statements towards D and his claims. They reiterated that D continued to refuse to get the DNA test and that the tender was indeed chicken. Here is the true story: hand-breaded white meat chicken. A customer has made a serious claim against KFC in the United States and refuses to cooperate in the investigation. The images the customer originally posted do not include this second angle because it clearly shows it's a piece of hand-breaded white meat chicken. Based on this and the fact that he refuses to allow anyone to see the product, KFC US is left to believe that he intended to deceive the public with this hoax and are considering all options. Thank you to all of our fans for standing by the taste they can trust. And when KFC says something like "we're considering all options," I think you can read between the lines here and come to the conclusion that, well, maybe KFC was going to be pulling a reverse Uno card here on D and be the ones doing the suing. I mean, from their perspective, this guy was just recklessly defaming them. With pressure from KFC and the skeptics mounting against D, it was being reported that he had finally hired an attorney looking to find a way out of the hole that he had dug himself into. This attorney would advise D to make the one decision that he had thus far refused to make. That decision being to take this alleged fried rat specimen out of his freezer and send it out for the independent DNA test. D had long been reluctant to do this, but with legal counsel urging him, coupled with the menacing statements from KFC, he finally decided to bite the bullet and send the tender off to this independent lab for the DNA analysis. Weeks would pass with no word on the testing. KFC enthusiasts worldwide were on the edge of their seats. It would only be a matter of time until the world knew if KFC was serving rodents to their customers. And eventually, the results would come. Finally, in late June, an update would surface. The test was completed, and the media got their hands on the results. DNA tests revealed that the fried meat was 0% rat and 100% white meat chicken. Damn straight. D's fried rat claim had been proven false. The scientific evidence was irrefutable, and this case was closed shut. D had indeed taken everyone for a ride. It was just a weird-ass looking piece of chicken, and that tail-like appendage thing, well, it was probably just a piece of chicken skin.
Well, relax, everyone. KFC says it wasn't a fried rat. After being tested in an independent lab, KFC says it turned out to be all white chicken, as they suspected all along. KFC now says the right thing for him to do is apologize and to cease from making false statements about the KFC brand. We tried to reach out to him, but so far, no response.
Now, since it was proven that the KFC Fried Rat was essentially a hoax, you would imagine that KFC would swiftly turn around and sue D for defaming their brand. But from what I can tell, D was never actually sued for this incident or never really faced any kind of serious punishment. All that really happened was that he removed everything pertaining to the KFC Fried Rat from his social media accounts, basically wiping any kind of allegation against KFC off the internet, at least from him. He sort of just fell into obscurity and lived out his life as a private citizen. The thing with D is, I would like to give this guy the benefit of the doubt and say that he was just some jackass that actually felt like he was wronged and actually felt like he was served the real rat. But with all the weird inconsistencies with this guy's stories and his public statements signaling his intents to turn this into a legal battle early on, I think he was just looking for a come up here and was willing to deceptively lead people on in order to do so. But that's just my opinion. We'll never really know this guy's true intention because Lord knows he is not replying to anybody inquiring for an interview, trust me. As for KFC, they seem to have taken this incident in stride over the years, even making a commercial that subtly dunks on D and his claims, referencing this fried rat situation.
How would that even happen? Fried rats. Nah.
It's got to be deep fat fried, so surely a cook's gonna recognise a rat from a chicken.
Got him! Got him!
But for those of you out there that remember this Kentucky Fried controversy and maybe you thought that this rat thing was actually real, rest assured it was a hoax and they never served up a rodent to a customer. This story is yet another bullshit hoax in the long list of bullshit fast food horror stories. Disgusting Chinese buffet. Chinese buffets are a staple of any American city. With fast service, cheap prices, and plenty of food, these establishments often draw in crowds of hungry working class individuals trying to get their money's worth in a struggling economy. Unfortunately, many of them have reputations for being dingy and unclean, being characterized as extremely sketchy. While most of the time, food inspectors do their job and prevent businesses with shady practices from harming anyone, sometimes things do slip through the cracks, which is what happened in 2016 at a restaurant located in Miami, Florida. In January, a restaurant with the nondescript name China Buffet was investigated by the Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulation and was found to have had a whopping 110 health code violations, with the business receiving yet another 74 violations in early February. If this wasn't enough, later that same month they received yet even more violations, this time racking up to 86. It goes without saying that most of these were the result of the restaurant refusing to fix the same issues time and time again, with the place gaining notoriety in the local community. This was enough to pique the interest of local news station WPLG, who decided to launch an in-depth investigation of their own into the establishment. It's important to note that the vast majority of the information about this whole ordeal comes from them, as mainstream publications stayed away from covering what was primarily a local affair. WPLG reporters decided to take a closer look at what happened behind closed doors, filming everything notable they stumbled across. They found what seemed to be a scene out of kitchen nightmares, food that wasn't properly being stored, disgustingly dirty cleaning equipment, and a rancid bathroom that, according to them, emitted horrible smells. At the beginning of their report, you can see them examining what appears to be a raw slab of salmon that was just left sitting on the disgusting floor. Now keep in mind, all of this was filmed after the restaurant had been previously shut down numerous times for health code violations and had been bafflingly allowed to reopen without issue. The news crews later decided to confront the owner, who was extremely hostile when questioned, leading to this exchange.
The owner doesn't want to talk about it.
No cameras.
No cameras what? First of all, don't touch. First of all, don't touch the camera.
Don't touch the camera.
Talk to my attorney.
Don't touch my camera. Don't touch my camera.
110 violations. It's the worst inspection we've seen in a long time. 110. We show those entering to eat what was recently found inside.
I'm gonna find somewhere else to go.
You're gonna eat somewhere else.
Yeah.
I just bought from there and I returned it.
After the report had been posted to YouTube, it went viral, accumulating over 12 million views and shocking online observers. Many were disgusted and appalled that such a restaurant was even allowed to operate. Travis Keels, a spokesperson for the Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulation, was asked this very same question by WPLG. The regulator responded, quote, "Once an emergency closure or suspension of license has been cleared to vacate by the director of the Division of Hotels and Restaurants, an establishment has to come into compliance with any violations deemed an immediate threat to public health and safety and is permitted to open and operate." The news outlet would continue their coverage of the restaurant's antics in an attempt to shed light on something that could potentially lead to innocent people getting sick. They returned to the restaurant soon after their initial report, where they were confronted by an employee.
But today we were back again.
No,
I need to talk to Kevin.
Okay, no here. Okay.
Can you call him?
Okay, no here. Sorry.
I want to talk to you. Why? Don't.
Don't touch my camera.
What?
Why do you keep?
Don't touch my camera.
Why is the place not getting better?
China Buffet was quietly bought out soon after and renamed Royal Buffet in 2017, perhaps in an attempt to distance themselves from its unsavory past. Unfortunately, these new owners did not seem to be any better. Later reports indicate that they too would be shut down after a live rat and hundreds of pellets of rodent feces had been found during a restaurant inspection. If you look up the restaurant's address on Google, you'll be met with a warning stating the establishment is permanently closed, hopefully never causing the public any more issues in the future. Obama Fried Chicken. KFC is a fast food staple and the Colonel's chicken has become famous around the world. Internationally, KFC is particularly popular in Asian countries. And because of this, many Asian merchants and entrepreneurs want to get franchising rights to sell the food. However, it can be quite difficult for international sellers to get these rights. And in some cases, when individuals can't legally take advantage of the Colonel's branding, they get a little creative. And that's what brings us to the story of Obama Fried Chicken, or OFC. In October of 2011, images began to surface on social media showing what appeared to be a KFC restaurant in Beijing, China. However, instead of the face of Colonel Sanders being in the logo, it was the visage of then-President Barack Obama, smiling from ear to ear. The slogan at the bottom of the sign can be translated as saying, "We're so cool, aren't we?" The restaurant was called OFC, aka Obama Fried Chicken. So not only was this restaurant infringing on KFC's IP with them basically stealing the brand theming, the inclusion of Barack Obama here in the context of it being a fried chicken restaurant is extremely questionable to say the least. The owner of this restaurant would be identified as 21-year-old Chinese man Zhu Baoli. Initially, his motives for including Obama in his branding were unclear, but many made their own assumptions. Naturally, the logo sparked quite the outrage in the West, and KFC wasn't all too happy about the kernel swapping either. When the story hit the US media, Reverend and civil rights activist Al Sharpton denounced the Obama Fried Chicken restaurant and said it was, quote, insulting, offensive, and plays to racial stereotypes. A KFC China spokesman echoed this sentiment and stated they were extremely displeased with the uses of their trademark and were considering suing OFC. Quote, we're considering legal action as it's a knockoff and has nothing to do with us and infringes on our brand trademark. We find it distasteful. However, speaking on this matter, in a way backfired for KFC because they were almost immediately met with critics that reminded them that KFC, you guys literally commissioned a Chinese KFC commercial earlier in that same year that had an Obama look-alike in it.
Change, not only for America, but for the whole world. Not only for your mom, but for you, for your stomach, for a better taste.
魚柳包嘅味道 change 咗啦 ，KFC 家鄉鮮魚柳軟包，鮮食香甜。
Change is good.
In fairness to KFC, they would later apologize for this commercial, stating, quote, it was meant to be a spoof and no disrespect was intended. And I really don't think they meant any harm by this. The commercial was more so about Obama's change slogan. You know, they're changing from KFC chicken sandwiches to, hey, we also have fish sandwiches too. Whatever the case, there were some folks that were upset about that commercial. But anyways, back to OFC. Even the Chinese locals were upset about Obama Fried Chicken, as apparently Zoo's Obama Chicken was actually quite delicious and popular with customers. And thanks in part to the recognizability of Zoo's KFC-styled branding, his shop was outselling and outcompeting nearby street food merchants. During the swirling controversy, it seemed like everyone in the world had weighed in on it, except for Zoo himself. In October of 2011, a news crew would manage to catch up with Zoo outside of his OFC restaurant and finally asked him why he used Obama as the mascot for his fried chicken joint. The answer might not be what you expected. In this interview, Zoo would explain that he had somewhat of an Obama obsession and deeply admired the US president for what he describes as having a positive attitude and cheerful smile. He claims that he had no intention of being offensive or violating KFC's trademark or invoking any racial stereotypes. Keep in mind, this story took place back in 2011, which was during Obama's first term, and this was probably the peak of the man's international popularity. He was famous all over the world. The man was loved by many internationally due to his charismatic persona. In fact, some folks would actually capitalize off of the love for Obama, often making fake bootleg Obama merchandise and using him in logos for their own trade benefits. So it's possible that Zoo got caught up in this frenzy, but maybe was ignorant of the sort of Western stereotype that he maybe inadvertently engaged in here. It's really tough to say, but I'm almost willing to give this guy the benefit of the doubt because he seems like more of an Obama fan than anything. In an apparent effort to placate KFC and their legal threats, Zoo would eventually change the name of OFC to UFO, and after some pressure from local authorities, he would reluctantly remove the infamous Obama Fried Chicken sign. Despite the massive worldwide discourse that followed this controversy, you might be surprised to find that Zoo was never legally pursued by KFC in any serious capacity. And as far as we know, he continues to operate restaurants to this day. And that was the story of Obama Fried Chicken. Wanted criminal calls cops over cold fries. When a fast food joint gets your order wrong, it can be frustrating. But it's not the end of the world. In light of a screw-up, most people ask the restaurant for a refund or simply wait around for them to remake the order correctly. However, there does exist a small cohort of individuals that have reacted disproportionately to a restaurant getting their order wrong, such as the folks who have called police over mismatched items in their bags.
And what did the owner say to you?
Well, I ordered a chicken sandwich, and basically the owner, I told him right before I ordered, I can't eat tomatoes because I'm allergic.
It goes without saying that it takes a room temperature IQ to think it's worth calling the police over a fast food order. But you know what's even more outrageously stupid? Doing this while you have an active warrant out for your arrest. Meet 24-year-old Antoine Sims. In August of 2022, Mr. Sims would enter and place an order at a Kennesaw, Georgia McDonald's location. This man, who was said to have been with his fiancée at the time, found himself becoming frustrated at the length of time it was taking the employees to prepare his food. Nearly 10 minutes had passed and Sims was still waiting. The man eventually snapped, and with no receipt in hand, he questioned the cashier what was taking so long. Well, it turns out that Antoine Sims' order number had already been called and he didn't notice it because he didn't have his receipt. His food was ready and had been sitting out ready to be picked up for several minutes at this point. After this discovery, the man would inspect his meal, only to find that his French fries had become cold. Enraged by this development, Sims was said to have furiously demanded staff to make him some fresh French fries. The man has been quoted as saying this to management, quote, "You better give me some fucking French fries, motherfucker." This situation was said to have escalated into a physical altercation with Antoine Sims allegedly throwing his food and drink at the McDonald's manager. Due to Mr. Sims' aggressive action, the incensed man was kicked out of the store by the McDonald's team, and he was told to never return. Antoine Sims was livid after being thrown out of the establishment, and in his rage, he decides to make a phone call. The vengeful man found it prudent to dial 911 and explained to authorities that McDonald's was refusing to supply him with a fresh order of French fries. After much haranguing, dispatch would eventually capitulate and send officers to the scene to investigate this French fry fiasco. A short time later, officers would arrive at McDonald's and police body cam footage would record Antoine detailing his dilemma.
I guess our order was called, but we don't even know our order number. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So now our food is sitting there cold. So when I come up, I say, you know, I try the fries. The fries they're lukewarm, but they're not hot. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So I just asked him, can we get some fresh fries? Okay. He said, okay, the fries are not hot. Touch the fries. I said, no, they're not hot. And at this point, you done touched them. So, you know, yeah, can I just get a fresh set? Okay. So is he getting the fries? And I said, can I also get the receipt? That was 5 minutes ago. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Excuse me, sir. 5 minutes ago, I can run my store however I want to run my store. This now, sir, I didn't pay. He said, matter of fact, you can leave my property. Get off my property now.
The ever so patient police collected his first and last name. Then they entered the restaurant to speak with the McDonald's franchise owner. The McDonald's workers would point out that Antoine was the aggressor, and the owner of the restaurant would also point out that he noticed a probation anklet on Antoine's leg, basically suggesting that he thought the man was out on probation.
He insists that all his food's cold. Okay. He's burning my hands, so whatever. That's, doesn't really matter. Okay. He took it to the next level, starts cussing me. You better give me that fresh fries, He's like, what? Starts losing it, starts shoving his food at me. And I said, sorry. I said, well, tell you what, you can take your business elsewhere. Give me a car, I'll give you a refund. No, you're not going to give me an effing refund. You're going to give me food and my money back. So I don't want him CT. I don't want to ever have him back. Okay. I mean, dude's obviously on probation, got an ankle bracelet on.
After speaking with the owner, it seemed as if police thought that McDonald's was in the right in this situation. The officer would then reapproach Mr. Sims and inform him that he was no longer allowed to go into the restaurant and asked him if he would be willing to sign an acknowledgement form stating such. Still hung up on getting new French fries, Mr. Sims wasn't thrilled about the development but kind of played ball for the time being.
He does not want you coming back in the store. He actually wants us to criminally trespass you, so you will not be allowed back at this McDonald's.
I don't even stay here.
It doesn't matter. He's requested it. We got to do it. It's not a big deal. It's a piece of.
Charge me?
No, we're not charging you. It's a piece of paper we're going to give you that's going to say, hey, you can't come back to this McDonald's. That's all it is.
Wow. No, just realistically, did I do anything wrong?
I don't know. I'm not here to even figure that out. I'm here to keep the peace.
Now at this point, the officer would go back to his police cruiser to get that acknowledgement form that he mentioned, but while inside his car, he decided to do a little bit of investigation about the theory that Antoine Sims was a man on probation. He runs his name through the police database, and after running Antoine's name through his police cruiser computer, the officer was stunned to discover that the man had an active warrant out for his arrest. Turns out, Antoine Sims had been arrested back in 2018. The man was suspected of being connected to the murder of a woman named Adeliza Mertovic. This woman was thought to have been accidentally killed in a botched drug deal, and prosecutors were alleging Antoine Sims of assisting the perpetrators in hiding evidence of the crime. Apparently, Antoine had missed a court date pertaining to this case while he was out on bond. Because of this, a warrant was put out for his arrest. The officer, who at this point was just stunned at the audacity of someone calling the police over something so petty with an active warrant, decided to play it cool and call for backup. He gets the acknowledgement form, goes back to Antoine with the intent of making an arrest. When the officer returned, he handed Antoine the acknowledgement form. The police commenced small talk, trying not to alert the man of his imminent arrest. Soon, additional officers would arrive, and at this point, Antoine Sims began to grow visibly paranoid. Seeing the situation deteriorating, police would go for an arrest, and it's at this point that Antoine runs for it.
Can you come over here, man?
No, I'm afraid of y'all, sir.
Why are you afraid?
3 years, sir. I'm afraid of
All
you,
right,
sir.
I'm gonna walk you through. Why are you doing that?
I know how to fill it out.
Why are you
sir.
doing that?
I know how to fill. Am I
All
ready?
right, yeah. Come on.
No, let's do it again.
Car.
The fleet-footed French fry complainant ran from police for some time and even allegedly attempted to break into an apartment building during the pursuit. But eventually, officers tracked Antoine Sims down, tased the man, and took him into custody. After arresting Sims, police would search his vehicle that he rode to McDonald's in and discovered 31 grams of marijuana. So in addition to being in trouble for skipping court, he now had an additional charge of possession with intent to distribute. Antoine Sims is now back in jail and awaits court relating to his alleged involvement in the death of Adeliza Mertovic. I'll end this segment with a YouTube comment under the police activity video showcasing the body cam footage of Antoine's arrest, which I think very well sums up the man's intelligence. This guy has the reasoning capabilities of a chicken McNugget.
Enough said.
Calling the cops over some cold French fries while you have an active warrant for your arrest is absurdly stupid. Antoine Sims would fit right in with our next harebrained fool caught up in a fast food disaster. That being the man who tried to impersonate In-N-Out Burger's CEO and got sued for it in civil court. In March of 2018, a man donning a suit entered an In-N-Out Burger establishment in San Fernando Valley, California. Introducing himself by the name John Trollston, the sharply dressed man presented himself as the CEO of the company itself. Trollston claimed that he needed a burger and fry meal from the restaurant so that he could audit the place's quality and make sure that it was up to In-N-Out standards. Some of the employees at the restaurant took the bait and gave the man food, but the obvious prank attempt at hand was caught on quickly by one of the managers, who denied John Trollston the attention he was seeking. See, it turns out Mr. Trollston was actually an online prankster named Cody Roeder. Roeder had already successfully perpetrated a similar prank, which was recorded and published to his YouTube channel, Troll Munchies. Seeing through Mr. Trollston's ruse, the manager at this In-N-Out establishment would call police over the matter. Upon realizing the police had been alerted, Cody, aka John Trollston, hastily fled the restaurant and managed to escape the scene before the cops arrived. However, despite narrowly evading police confrontation, this wouldn't be the end of John Trollston's In-N-Out CEO impersonation antics. Cody would continue this same half-wit prank, hitting another In-N-Out location in Burbank, California, claiming that he was the CEO in an attempt to get free food. In the Burbank attempt, he goes as far as making a public scene by stepping on a burger in front of the restaurant's manager and customers.
Sir, I hate to say this,
hey,
but
man, I need a
your
seat.
food's
I'm gonna retake your burger. Sir, I need you to leave now.
Yeah. Sir, this is just, it's garbage.
He would avoid police incursion in this situation as well, and his videos continued to go up showcasing him pranking In-N-Out restaurants. But this Burbank incident would prove to be the last straw for In-N-Out. Apparently, prank channels had been swarming the areas and these In-N-Out restaurants around Los Angeles for some time. with many customers and employees complaining to the company about being filmed by opportunistic trolls and influencers who would visit their restaurants. As a result of Cody Roeder's In-N-Out Burger CEO impersonation pranks, Cody was sued by the company. Their lawsuit demanding that Cody be banned from In-N-Out Burger establishments, that he pay them $25,000 in damages, and requested a restraining order be issued against the man that, if violated, would incur $1,000 of damages for each infringement. While the outcome of this lawsuit isn't public, videos related to In-N-Out Burger were removed from the Troll Munchies channel, so I can only imagine that the lawsuit had legs to some degree. The Chipotle Chucker. In September of 2023, a customer by the name of Rosemary Hain became furious after receiving her order, apparently being unsatisfied with the quality of her Chipotle. Despite attempts to calm her down, Hain completely lost it and violently threw a bowl of hot food directly into the employee's chest and face. The whole incident was recorded by a bystander, with another customer immediately confronting Hain and threatening to call the cops over the matter. It shouldn't be surprising that this footage was immediately uploaded to social media, with many being outraged by the woman's absurd behavior. The victim in question was 17-year-old Emily Russell, with Rosemary being quickly arrested and charged with assault. According to Fox 8 News, when questioned about why she committed such a bizarre act, she stated, "If I showed you how my food looked and how my food looked a week later from that same restaurant, it's disgusting." Despite this, she did offer a full apology and made it clear she regretted her actions. The judge, however, was completely unsympathetic to her pleas. She was sentenced to 180 days in jail, with 90 of them being suspended. According to official sources, Judge Timothy Gilligan, who was presiding over the case, wasn't quite done yet though. While a jail sentence was bad enough, he felt that this was an opportunity to teach the woman what it was like to be on the receiving end of customer abuse, so he offered her a deal. If she worked in a fast food restaurant for a minimum of 20 hours for an 8-week period, he would significantly reduce her jail sentence. And this was an offer that she readily took. Yeah, part of her punishment from the judge was having her actually work at a restaurant. While this had clearly been an unpleasant experience for the young worker, she didn't seem to let it impact her all too much. In an interview with USA Today, she stated, "I was telling the judge she left the building and went to her car, and she came back, and that's what she did to my face. We live in a world right now where she could have done anything she wanted. She could have punched me in my face or pulled a gun out. I'm lucky that I only got a bowl thrown in my face." It was also revealed that she believed the punishment was befitting of the crime, saying she was satisfied with the outcome. In addition to all of this, a GoFundMe was started for the girl, with it racking up over $10,000 in total donations. Obviously, what Hain had done was inexcusable and shouldn't have happened, but the donations and public outcry certainly served as a nice silver lining to the unfortunate event. However, this wouldn't be the end of the story. An article was recently released by the news outlet Grub Street, where they examined her life after the incident and whether or not she had actually received a proper punishment. According to the article, she ended up being employed at a Burger King restaurant to comply with the judge's request, but this is about as far as her goodwill went. She's had some questionable comments when reflecting on the incident, having the nerve to imply the clip of her throwing the food in the employee's face had been, quote, taken out of context, stating, "If you saw the full video, you'll see me waiting for 35 minutes. You'll see me say something to Emily that's not rude or anything. You'll see her talk rude to me. I wish I could post that." It's also important to clarify here that the reason she says that she was upset was that she thought that the food just looked disgusting. The order was actually totally correct, but, you know, she justifies her outrage by saying that it just looked like shit. Which I've had some fucked up bowls from Chipotle before, but come on, bitch, this is like out of line. This, combined with the extremely long wait time and the allegedly rude service, apparently led this woman to the infamous outburst. Overall, the situation serves as a reminder that fast food workers are human beings as well. And no matter how frustrating terrible service can be, it's never worth going completely psycho over some food. Burger King Depressurization Incident. Pulling pranks on fast food workers is an age-old tradition, with some of the earliest viral successes on YouTube being these types of videos, a la like fire in the hole videos. However, while most of these pranks are certainly annoying, it's very rare that any of them cross into criminal territory. This unfortunately wasn't the case in 2016, when one prankster took things way too far. As the story goes, it was a typical night at a Burger King located in Coon Rapids, Minnesota, when the manager of the restaurant had received a distressing phone call. The caller posed as a firefighter and advised the manager of a potentially dangerous situation, claiming that there were harmful fumes that could result in the restaurant literally exploding. According to local news reports, after this call, he panicked and instructed the employees to bust out the windows of the establishment in order to prevent a catastrophe, with the entire ordeal being caught on camera. It goes without saying that all of this was completely false. Not only had the fire department never contacted the Burger King, but there was no toxic gas to be found there at all. Ethan Grew, who had been working at the time of the incident, told CBS News that, quote, his other coworkers were doing it, so he just followed along, unquote. While on the surface it seems ridiculous, in the moment it appeared to be very real to those involved. Apparently, the caller had done extensive research in an effort to come across as legitimate as possible, fooling the manager and making a mockery out of the local authorities. However, this was far from an isolated incident. In a bizarre twist, the exact same thing had occurred in April of the same year at another Burger King located in Oklahoma. Similar to the previous story, a prankster called the restaurant and convinced the employees that if they didn't break the windows, deadly gas would spread throughout the building. This too was of course a hoax, costing this particular Burger King over 10 grand in total damages. When speaking to local news outlet KFOR, a firefighter named Thomas Larman stated, quote, it is a little upsetting that they would try to give the fire department a black eye. We would never do anything like that. We're here to serve the public, protect the public. However, these two stories paled in comparison to an incident that occurred at another Burger King located in Morro Bay, California. As in the previous stories, the same thing happened, and like clockwork, the workers began to break down the windows. The manager apparently then had the fantastic idea of driving his large truck through the building. While in previous instances, the breaking of windows was arguably justifiable considering the fact that they actually believed there was a real gas threat, it's hard to imagine why anyone would think ramming a large vehicle into the restaurant would help in any way. According to the Daily Mail, this caused $35,000 in damages, with the manager in question being suspended. The sheer volume of incidents occurring resulted in authorities investigating the matter further, believing that it could be a coordinated attempt, but it's unclear if a culprit was ever found even after all of these years later. Bootleg Buc-ee's. Buc-ee's is a staple of Texas, and it's successfully spreading to other regions of the United States for good reason. We're talking locations with over 200 fuel pumps, a sprawling market filled wall-to-wall with signature snacks, beverage, and Buc-ee the Beaver merchandise, a hot bar constantly serving fresh brisket sandwiches, baked goods, and tacos. Now, aside from all the amenities that they provide, Buc-ee's has also become successful in part due to the popularity of their logo, or mascot, Buc-ee the Beaver. Their beaver mascot is found on practically every product sold in the store, and I'd be willing to bet you've seen some folks in your town wearing shirts or hats featuring this beaver. And with a business and intellectual property as hot as Buc-ee's, it's no surprise that some out there have attempted to illegally make use of some of Buc-ee's trademarks. Which brings us to the bizarre case of the Mexican Buc-ee's. On July 23rd of 2023, a photo was uploaded to Facebook by a man named Ramon Montalongo. The caption, which has been translated from Spanish to English, reads, "You are not going to believe this." Apparently photographed just out of the city of Matamoros, Mexico, Ramon's photo appeared to have exposed a previously undetected Buc-ee's bootlegging operation. His image showcased a store that was under construction, this ramshackle concrete building featuring some rather curious signage and logo work. The joint was called Buc-ee's, the E's spelled with 2 I's instead of EES. And its exterior walls also featured imagery of a grotesque-looking buck-toothed rat creature. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, look at this Family Dollar-ass Buc-ee's we got here. So as you can clearly see, the intent with this Mexican Buc-ee's was to jack the swag of the Texas-based company. Ramon's photo showcasing this apparent bootleg operation would subsequently go viral on Facebook. The comment section of his post flooded with a seemingly endless stream of laughing emojis. However, when news of this bootleg Buc-ee's made it back to Buc-ee's in Texas, well, the company wasn't taking this as any kind of joke, and as a matter of fact, they were pretty pissed off about it. Several days after being made aware of the Mexican Buc-ee's, they put out this statement. The Buc-ee's brand represents clean restrooms, freshly prepared food, and great service. Buc-ee's has invested heavily in innovation across the company to create and maintain these award-winning guest experiences. Accordingly, Buc-ee's will not stand as an idle spectator while others use without permission the intellectual property that Buc-ee's has cultivated for decades. And after this statement, there were rumors floating around that Buc-ee's was going after Buc-ee's legally. It's important to note that Buc-ee's has somewhat of a track record of going after companies legally for copyright and trademark infringement, and have actually been pretty successful in these regards. For example, in 2018, Buc-ee's won a federal trademark lawsuit against a Texas barbecue restaurant chain called Choke Canyon Barbecue. The basis of this suit being that Choke Canyon had violated their trademark by using this logo and mascot. A hat-wearing alligator flashing a smile in front of a yellow background, looking up and to the left. Putting Choke Canyon next to Buc-ee's, you can kind of see where the company was coming from here. And with both joints being known for their barbecue brisket, I can understand why Buc-ee's had some qualms with this. In the time since Buc-ee's has made their comment on the Mexican bootleg, it appears the fake Buc-ee's store has completely redesigned their mascot and front signage, in what seems to be an effort to placate the company and possibly avoid future litigation. As you can see, the mascot has lost the red cap and has gone through a complete makeover. Looks like he grew a little bit of a mullet too. Which is fucking hilarious to me though, because now with this redesign done, it almost appears like they're kind of stealing the generic chipmunk design that you see in Disney animations, but I digress. As of now, I can't find any evidence of a lawsuit being filed against the company, but considering this is a recent story, I wouldn't be surprised if an update comes forward. The Denny's Grand Slam concert. To begin the Denny's Grand Slam story, I reckon I'll introduce you to the guys who orchestrated the slam itself, the band known as Live Without.
I'm Matt, I'm the guitarist. This is Zane.
I'm Zane. I'm the drummer in said video.
Chris, I am the vocalist and coined the term.
The band's bass player, Aaron Hughes, he couldn't make it to the interview, but this is him right here. In the iconic footage, you can see Matt, the guitarist here, Zane, the drummer here, Aaron Hughes here, and the famed What the Fuck Is Up Denny's vocalist, Chris, right here. But let's pull back from the famous footage for a moment. Where exactly did Live Without get the idea to throw a hardcore show in an extremely inappropriate venue in the first place? Well, believe it or not, stuff like this has happened before. Vocalist Chris and drummer Zane actually cite 2 prior restaurant concerts as inspiration for the Grand Slam. One concert took place in a Portland Burgerville location in 2012 and another at an Omaha, Nebraska Wendy's in 2008.
A band called Expire played at Burgerville in Portland. Burgerville is Whataburger of Portland, but they played in a Burgerville. And it was a functioning Burgerville that was open, and there were customers in there while the show was happening in the restaurant.
I was very inspired by different band that played in a restaurant.
You're right. You're right. We're gonna get fucking.
In like 07, there's this band called Left by Left. I don't know. They played Wendy's, and I saw that shit and never forgot it. And I was like, I'm gonna do this someday, somewhere, and it ended up being the Denny's thing.
Being big fans of the Burgerville and Wendy's shows, the Live Without band collectively toyed around with the idea that if they were ever presented with an opportunity to do their own in-restaurant show, they would heed the call. And you really do need a golden opportunity to present itself, because contrary to what you might think, throwing a concert in a fast food restaurant or a diner isn't the easiest endeavor. Sure, you could attempt to bum rush a McDonald's with a few bands and a legion of fans and try to put on a show, but chances are you're gonna almost immediately get kicked out and at worst get arrested for trespassing. You have to get lucky in order to pull something like this off. Well, in 2013, the band caught a big break, with a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity falling into their lap one evening while eating a meal at their local Denny's restaurant on Highway 6 in Houston, Texas.
We were just eating there and literally just overheard that they were like going to be going out of business or whatever. And we literally just asked them, like, if you just ask them, and then they're like, oh yeah, they kind of like thought about it for a second. We're like, yeah, we'd be kind of like, we wouldn't be opposed to that.
So you asked them in person after eating there?
Yeah. They were just going out of business, and then they had a week where it was like a week or two where like the Denny's was going to be unoccupied. So it's not like a working Denny's, but that's like kind of the meme is like, can you imagine? You imagine you're eating a waffle and you look over and you see this shit.
So after hearing the Denny's staff members discussing how the restaurant was going to close soon, they simply got up from their table and asked management if they could throw a concert in the in the restaurant after it was closed down. And surprisingly, not only did the owner agree, they allowed them to do it for free. This has got to be the most chill and freaking like homiest Denny's of all time. With the Denny's owners giving them permission, the band acted fast to promote their dream concert, naturally dubbed the Denny's Grand Slam. They created promotional flyers, advertised the event on Facebook, and texted every friend they could think of in the hopes of getting a big turnout. The fruits of their labor would be revealed on the night of May 18th of 2013, the night of the Denny's Grand Slam.
When we showed up to like start setting up for the show, it still smelled like a Grand Slam in there, and you could still, you could still taste it in the air. It was like, man.
Yeah, the Denny's was for the most part gutted, and there was just a few things left over that they were gonna still come and take, but they were pretty much ready to like get rid of the building, and like that left a lot of room for the crowd and instruments and all that. So
everything was going perfectly. Dozens of fans began filing in, and the stage was set right next to the Denny's kitchen door. An appropriate location is set up as each person in attendance was about to be served the most hardcore Grand Slam of their life. The concert begins, and it's absolutely bonkers.
The booths were still there, and there were people. I remember, like, if you call it stage diving, they were stage diving, like just so much shit
off the booth.
Yeah, it was so packed. It was like one of the coolest things that had ever happened. Just in that little moment, as we were as a band, it was like there were so many kids there. It was so much fun.
Thus far, the Denny's Grand Slam was going great. It was a hilariously badass spectacle. But the event would truly become legendary after the group's vocalist Chris uttered the following string of words.
What's up? What's up? What the fuck's up, Denny's?
I knew I wanted to put something there that was going to let people know that, like, yo, it's time.
What the fuck is up, Denny's? It's a string of words probably never before uttered in human history at that point in time. A phrase that not only perfectly summarized the absolute absurdity of the event, but also served as a reminder to those in attendance that, bro, you're really part of something special right now. We're having a hardcore show inside of a Denny's, for Christ's sake.
It just kind of rolled off as I was almost in the mindset of being like, what's up, bitch? what's up? You know what I mean? Like, so that's where it kind of started. And I was like, oh no, we're at Denny's, dude. I gotta say. What the fuck is up, Denny's? So then when the line came out, so what's up? What's up? What the fuck is up, Denny's? After that line, there are so many people on this earth that think that I say circle pit. And that is so fucking infuriating because why would you call for a circle pit at that point in the song? It's so dumb. Like if they and a lot of
suck dick. Is that what you're talking about?
And a lot of people have dug in and actually found the lyrics and actually know what I'm saying there. But the next lyric in the song is "It's time to quit."
The Denny's Grand Slam was a massive success and went on without a hitch. A little over $100 was raised by the band, which they actually offered to the Denny's owner as a thanks for allowing them to perform at the closed down restaurant.
I remember thinking after after the show, I was just like, this is great. Yeah. This is something I'm never gonna forget. And then
and the internet won't let us forget it.
Footage of the Grand Slam would be uploaded to YouTube a day after the event. The most well-known footage was actually recorded by Matt, the guitarist's wife, Courtney, and this footage was published to the Live Without YouTube channel. Though the Grand Slam video didn't go viral immediately, rather the event sort of became this legendary tall tale that was passed around in the Houston, Texas hardcore scene.
Well, see, so like the what the fuck is up Denny shit lived in our group. Our small little group as an inside joke for years.
We're repeating that just between each other for multiple times.
But the fabled Grand Slam wouldn't remain a local tall tale forever. As in 2018, approximately 5 years after the show, Matt's wife Courtney tweeted out an abbreviated version of the Denny's Grand Slam to her Twitter account. This clipped down version starts off with Chris the vocalist's famous mosh callout. What's up? What the fuck is up, Denny's? Needless to say, Chris's Denny's proclamation was made into a meme, and this perfectly packaged glimpse into the Denny's Grand Slam concert went viral, garnering thousands of retweets and tens of thousands of likes. And around the same time, someone had also uploaded an abbreviated version of the Denny's Grand Slam to YouTube, which also started blowing up. The Live Without boys were finally getting the clout they deserve for putting on such a legendary performance. And the boys found themselves internet legends practically overnight.
The thing that I would like to point out about this show is that we're not trying to be like, I don't know, we're the greatest fucking band ever. You need to watch our band. This is all about us. Like, this was just a moment that happened and people picked it up, and that's great. And the real thing that people like about this is like the whole DIY aspect of throwing your own show wherever the fuck you want to do it.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
if
absolutely.
you want to go like ask your local skate shop or fucking
just fucking ask, dude.
Yeah, it never hurts to ask if you're a young or even not a young band out there,
or even an old band, specifically an old
like,
band,
like trying to throw a show. Just
try, dude.
It doesn't have to be a restaurant. It doesn't have to be anything. Just whatever you think you can pull off, just give it a shot. Like Wayne Gretzky and Michael Scott said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Fuck yes, bro. And that's a rundown on the history of the Houston, Texas Denny's Grand Slam. But the legacy of Denny's Grand Slams doesn't end here and actually gets a little crazier.
2019.
This is Bryson Del Valle, punk enthusiast and big-time fan of the What the Fuck is Up Denny's meme. Inspired by Live Without's 2013 Denny's Grand Slam, Bryson hatched a plan to throw a Denny's Grand Slam of his own in Santa Ana, California. His dream was to have it headlined by a local favorite punk band called Wacko. So Bryson calls up the Denny's location on Bristol Street in Santa Ana and asks the manager if he could reserve the banquet room for a show. In case you were wondering, this is what a Denny's banquet room looks like. So the Denny's manager takes the call, doesn't really ask all too many questions, and decides to accept the reservation as long as Bryson is willing to put a down payment up. You know, manager probably thought there'd be like a dozen or so people for some kind of small performance. However, accepting this reservation would be a costly mistake, at least for Denny's. Keep in mind that this Denny's we're talking about is fully operational, not closing down like the one in Houston, Houston, Texas back in 2013. So after getting the okay from Denny's management, Bryson tells his friends about the show, gets Wacko on board, and a handful of other bands to agree to perform. There were hundreds of punk fans around town expressing interest in attending this Denny's Grand Slam event slated for December 14th. It's impossible to say how many people actually attended this Wacko Denny's Grand Slam, but taking just a cursory look at the footage, you can tell it's way more than the Denny's management expected it to be. This Wacko Grand Slam was like the Live Without Grand Slam on steroids. It was absolute chaos. Video of the concert shows dozens upon dozens of folks crammed into this small banquet room, some standing and jumping on booths and tables, others knocking around ceiling lamps, all while normal Denny's patrons are outside in the main dining area trying to enjoy a meal while this crazy concert's going on. It was absolute mayhem. Denny's management, realizing the egregious mistake they had made, tried to get people to leave and actually ended up calling police to make that happen. Police would arrive at the location approximately 20 minutes after the show had kicked off, giving Wacko just enough time to perform a set.
Get the fuck out of here!
Surprisingly, nobody was arrested, but there were consequences for the kid who booked the show, Bryson. Bryson was reportedly hit with an $1,800 bill for damages caused to the booths and light fixtures. $1,800 is a lot of money for a seemingly broke 17-year-old kid that was just trying to have some fun. However, his saving grace was that by this point, there were videos of this on the internet and they were going viral, and people were already labeling this, you know, the ultimate second coming of the Denny's Grand Slam. For lack of a better expression, people thought this was fucking awesome. Naturally, a GoFundMe page was created to help Bryson foot the bill. A GoFundMe page that Green Day, yes, the actual band Green Day, would donate $2,000 to. And with that $2,000 on board, all debts would be paid, and another Grand Slam was in the history books. Now, I'm personally a fan of the original Houston, Texas Grand Slam, as it was far more cleaner in execution. The Denny's itself was closed and there weren't any like restaurant workers or patrons being griefed while the concert was going on. It's kind of lame that the Wacko show resulted in damages and potentially had some like minimum wage workers picking up the pieces after this thing was over. I'm not certain that's the case or anything, but you know what I'm saying? But with that said, I want to say this. It sure is fitting with Wacko being a punk rock band that the Grand Slam they were featured in went out in such a chaotic fashion. And what did the godfathers of the Grand Slam, Live Without, have to say about Wacko's interpretation of their formula?
Shout out, baby.
Yeah, it was.
What's up, Wacko?
Wish I could have been there, honestly. I wish I could have been at that show. That shit looked insane. There were so many people inside that small ass.
And Wacko is so fucking good, it's not even funny.
Yeah.
The original Denny's Grand Slam will likely continue to intrigue the internet for many years to come. Their performance has captured the imagination of millions, showing aspiring bands out there that anywhere, no matter how seemingly mundane, can be made into an epic venue. Even the most unremarkable locations are capable of hosting legendary shows that will be discussed for decades to come.
What's up? What's up? What the fuck's up, Denny's?
And that is the story of the Denny's Grand Slam. Burger King refuses to serve deaf woman. Disabled people are one of the most vulnerable groups in America, often facing difficulties with tasks that would otherwise be easy to complete for an average healthy adult. Because of this, the government has passed several laws and regulations making it mandatory for businesses to assist disabled customers. Unfortunately, this can sometimes conflict with the inherent nature of fast food restaurants who want paying customers in and out as quickly as possible. With an example of this going down at a Burger King in 2019. This is the case of the tone-deaf Burger King. In August of that year, a deaf woman by the name of Rachel Hollis decided she would get fast food with her sons, figuring it would be a smooth experience, as she claimed she had done this numerous times before without issue. Instead of speaking into the intercom and placing her order, she pulled up to the drive-thru window and handed the employee her cell phone where she had her full order written out in the iPhone Notes app. This is where things turn sour for the family. For whatever reason, the employee in question refused to meet her request, handing the woman a handwritten note on a receipt, claiming they were too busy and unable to accommodate her disability. While they stated she needed to go inside and order, Hollis was rightfully indignant. It made absolutely no sense for her to do this, and considering the fact that her children were napping, she felt like they were being unreasonable and she wasn't going to move out of the line until they served her. Instead of simply accepting the fact that her order might take a little bit longer than normal, they decided to call the police on her, claiming over the phone that she was refusing to leave. Of course, all of this had been caught on film, with the footage subsequently being provided to a local news outlet who included it in their report on the issue.
You have to come inside. It is too busy. Too busy, ma'am. I can't do it in full order at the window. I'm sorry. It has nothing to do with your disability. I have a disability too, okay?
I just wanted my food. They should treat me like a hearing customer.
Hollis says police did show up, but didn't even get out of their cars to question her. She says she eventually got her kids fed and home, but that's when she broke down.
I was very upset. I was crying. I was very tired. I'm tired of discrimination. I never experienced anything like that. For someone to call the police, that's crazy. It just didn't seem right.
While the man in the video claimed his request had nothing to do with their disability, many others begged to differ. Online commentators were outraged, with many pointing out the Burger King staff had made things infinitely worse by making a scene instead of just taking her order. As stated before, this was also in direct violation of the American Disabilities Act, which mandates that businesses have to provide their services for anyone regardless of whether or not they are disabled. Because of this, Rachel Hollis decided to enlist the services of an attorney named Cameron Spradling, who claimed they had violated the law by not taking Miss Hollis's order. Suffice to say, the Burger King employee was swiftly fired, with the whole ordeal kind of highlighting how stress-inducing jobs in the food industry can sometimes conflict with the person's basic human decency, with them feeling as if they gotta, be fast with it. You're turning down blind, disabled people, goddammit. The news outlet Today reached out to the fast food giant for comment and received this email in response. Quote, all guests should be treated with respect. The employee was terminated and all employees at that location will undergo additional sensitivity training to ensure our customers always feel welcomed. The Operation Soda Steal story. It's the legend of a GameFAQs.com forum user and his mission to acquire unlimited amounts of Baja Blast from his local Taco Bell using some ingeniously crude engineering skills. This is the story of Operation Soda Steal. The story of this legendary soda heist begins all the way back on August 1st of 2008 on the GameFAQs.com forums. On this day, a GameFAQs forum user going by the name Epitaph Phillips submits a thread to the boards titled, "My dream is becoming a reality, Operation Soda Steal." Attached was some Microsoft Paint concept art Philip had created, the art showing a contraption that he sought to engineer, and if functional would allow him to covertly siphon potentially unlimited amounts of soda from fast food restaurant fountain drink dispensers. The design consisted of a backpack which would contain a concealed tank where the soda was to be stored. From here, a connecting tube exits out of the bag, travels into Phil's shirt, up his sleeve, and then connects to the bottom of a cup receptacle. The theorized apparatus allowing its user to secretly fill the tank with gallons of free soda to take home, with the restaurant being none the wiser. While the engineering behind this is admittedly clever, the sort of premise of just making it to steal soda is ridiculous, and one might think a post like this to be nothing more than just a silly throwaway shitpost. Just a guy posting preposterous stuff to get a rise out of forum users. But subsequent posts from Phillips suggest that his commitment to Operation Soda Steal was serious and that this was far more than just a humorous shitpost. Phillip would share photos to the thread showcasing an early model of his soda steal contraption. This photo shows the tank and tube apparatus that would be placed into the backpack, and this photo showcases the tube and cup connection. Philip wrote the following alongside his gallery of Soda Steal prototype photos. I tested it in the shower and it works pretty well. I ran out of hot glue though, so there were some small leaks. Hopefully I can complete it by tomorrow and take it out for a spin. I might record it. Taco Bell will never know what hit him. With these images confirming the man's commitment to his offbeat novelty project, that's when you had folks chiming in asking the question, why? I mean, of all things you could commit your time to, this is what you do? With engineering skills like this, we got a future NASA scientist on our hand, man. Like, go to school or something. One user says, why can't you just buy soda? It'd be different if somehow you could do this with gasoline or like gold or something. Soda is inexpensive. I mean, don't get me wrong, the concept and idea rock my balls. Philip replies, it's not about the soda. I probably won't even drink half of it. It's the accomplishment and it's fun. And aside from self-fulfillment and garnering big dick internet street cred, there was actually a pragmatic reason for stealing soda, specifically in the context of the restaurant target being a Taco Bell. And that's because Taco Bell is the home of the undisputed best soda of all time, Mountain Dew Baja Blast. While Baja Blast is available in grocery stores these days, back in 2008, this stuff was only available at Taco Bell. It was an exclusive item, and anyone who was around at the time knows just how sought after this rare teal-colored nectar was. Philip's soda stealing contraption could be used to break the matrix and potentially allow one to gain access to an unlimited take-home supply of Baja Blast. He was breaking the system. When folks realized this, buzz around the thread grew and people began chiming in offering engineering advice to help perfect Phil's contraption. The GameFAQs community was all in on this project. One user suggested that Philip have the soda tube exit the tank from the bottom as to reduce jostling of the soda as it entered, thus preserving its carbonation. Another user proposed installing a ramp to achieve a similar fizz retention effect. Throughout the week, Philip would make various tweaks to his contraption, and on August 6th, he would upload a new collection of photos revealing the final version of his device. This enhanced version incorporated an anti-fizzing tube setup in a different bag that perfectly fit the shape of his tank. Along with these images, he commented, "No guarantees, but I might try tonight with a friend." One user says, "It's 9 o'clock now. When is tonight?" Philip replies, "Well, it's only 7 here on the West Coast. We were thinking pretty later, like around 10, so there won't be any people. Also, I'm well aware doing this for the sole purpose of getting soda is a dumb idea. That's why I'm not only doing it for that reason. It's a fun project and will be a good story to tell. Not to mention it provides entertainment for all of you guys." After weeks of preparation, it appeared that the night of Operation Soda Steal was at hand, and after Philip's last post at 6:47 p.m., he vanished from the boards for hours. Folks were on the edge of their seats, hoping that Philip would return with news of a successful mission and a tank full of Baja Blast. Hours passed with no updates, but finally, at 9:15 p.m., Epitaph Phil comes back with a bombshell. Fucking did it. I'm gonna upload the video now. I'm not gonna spoil any results. The madman Epitaph Phil had completed his mission. Operation Soda Steal was a success. And to top it off, he recorded the entire thing. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the footage of Operation Soda Steal.
Here at Taco Bell, my friend, and we're about to deploy our device. See how it goes.
Get up there.
Get a beef burrito, no onion, and a extra large drink. Living the dream. I don't know if you can see that. Nah, there's some light. Bring it out in the light. Oh my god. Holy shit. That is a lot of Baja. I told you. Alright, we'll extra large Taco Bell cup we got beforehand. Put this funnel in here. super glued it. You can see it comes out the bottom. Then add this tube, which then goes through the sleeve of the jacket down to the side bag, which is just this little luggage bag, which conveniently perfectly fit the container. And there's the fruits of our labor. Proudly say I'm one of the few people privileged enough to enjoy Baja Blast in the confines of my own home.
Thanks to pulling off Operation Soda Steal, Epitaph Phillip became a legend on the GameFAQs forums. His successful pilfering of Baja Blast was actually covered by some popular online blogs at the time, and follow-up posts from Phil would confirm that he managed to steal approximately 2 gallons of soda from the Taco Bell. It was a beautiful moment on the internet. As the buzz surrounding Operation Soda Steal would eventually diminish, so did Epitaph Phillip's forum activity. His account on the site is now deactivated and nobody really knows what became of the guy. Operation Soda Steal is in many ways the perfect internet story. It's a tale of a random forum user with a bold plan to swindle Mountain Dew, who worked together with a niche online gaming community to execute a mission so ridiculously silly, yet somehow crucially important at the same time. Even if you weren't there when this took place, or you're just now hearing about this, there's something oddly nostalgic about Operation Soda Steal. 2008 internet, man, you just had to be there. It was a better time to be online. But that, my friends, was the story of Operation Soda Steal. The McDonald's Trap House. The idea of an innocuous business serving as a drug front seems too insane to actually be true. Shout out to Los Pollos Hermanos. The concept being reserved for TV shows and movies and, basically an impossibility. However, it turns out that for a Brooklyn McDonald's, this fantasy was much closer than reality than one would think possible. 26-year-old Frank Guerrero seemed like your average employee. He worked as the night shift manager at the fast food chain for 8 years, something that certainly took a lot of hard work and dedication. Unfortunately, it seemed that the pay left something to be desired, as Frank began to expand into more shady business ventures on the side. Behind the scenes, he was running an illegal narcotic ring using his position at the store as a means to deliver drugs to customers. An article from New York Daily News reports that he went about it like this. The particular McDonald's restaurant was open 24 hours, meaning at a certain point only the drive-thru window was open. Despite this, he would allow his drug customers to enter through the front door and conduct their business, stashing the drugs themselves in soap dispensers. He would often gift the customers their special product in McDonald's meal bags. Something that sounds so absolutely ridiculous on the surface, to be honest. It's like, this is like an actual Happy Meal, you know what I'm saying? Apparently this system worked well, at least for a time. Guerrero would eventually be busted by authorities for slanging out of the Golden Arches. According to the Office of the Special Narcotics Prosecutor for the City of New York, officers conducted numerous exchanges with Guerrero before making the arrest. Over the course of 8 separate dealings, he sold them almost $11,000 worth of cocaine. He was so brazen with it that undercover officers were able to score 100 grams of the illegal substance in a single exchange. Talk about a fucking meal deal. This was a massive operation drawing a significant amount of money, but as with all things of this nature, it didn't last. After investigating Frank's home, they managed to find over 200 grams of cocaine in addition to a significant amount of cash. The case was so ridiculous that even those involved in the investigation made a joke out of it. When speaking to the press, they revealed that the code name for the entire operation was, quote, off the menu. When speaking to the New York Post, narcotics prosecutor Bridget G. Brennan said, quote, the conduct was so blatant that it would be comical if he weren't committing a serious narcotics crime. Ordering coke took an entirely different meaning on the night shift at this McDonald's. Due to the significant amount of drugs discovered at his home, Frank's wife was also arrested on suspicion of collusion. While it may seem like an operation like this was impossible to slip through the cracks without the owners knowing, it seems like this was exactly the case. The owner of the restaurant released a statement condemning the crime, claiming he was in full cooperation with authorities on the matter. Reporters, of course, had a field day with the story as well, making numerous puns at the expense of the criminal fast food worker.
Involved in this sting operation were saying, I'm loving it, when they got that side of Coke along with their burger and fries offer at this Soundview McDonald's. They say cocaine and crack cocaine were on the menu with the night manager doing the dishing up, but it's the kind of Coke that gets you time behind bars. The night manager had a busy side hustle selling to undercover cops. 26-year-old Frank Guerrero had been the night manager here for 8 years, but cops caught on to his drug trade in crack and cocaine during several undercover buys, eventually racking up more than 10 grand worth of illegal drugs that they say the manager would sell to them by tucking it inside a cookie bag.
Wendy's chili finger incident. Longtime viewers of the channel will likely be familiar with our next story. It's a timeless tale that took the internet and the mainstream media by storm. It's the legend of the Wendy's chili finger. The Wendy's chili finger saga begins all the way back on March 22nd of 2005 with Las Vegas woman Anna Ayala. Anna was traveling through Southern California at the time, and feeling hungry, she stops at a Wendy's location on Monterey Highway in San Jose. At approximately 7:20 p.m., Anna walks into the restaurant and orders a 99-cent bowl of chili from the front counter. She pays for her meal, gets her food, and sits at one of the tables and begins eating. However, while Anna is eating her chili, she bites into something crunchy. It's at this moment where Anna finds what appears to be a decomposed human finger half submerged in her chili bowl. Mortified, the now panicked woman takes her bowl of chili up to the front counter and frantically explains to the employees what she just found in her chili. Restaurant staff would take a quick look at the grotesque object and agreed with her prognosis of the situation. As a result of the incident, the Wendy's location immediately stopped serving food and law enforcement was called to the scene. The sudden police presence at the restaurant prompted intrigue from bystanders, and before you knew it, the word was spreading around that a woman had found a finger in her bowl of chili. By evening time, local media would pick up on the situation, and Wendy's was on the brink of the biggest PR disaster in the restaurant's history.
Now we turn to the story everybody is talking about, the finger in the Wendy's chili. Investigators are conducting DNA tests, hoping to find the owner of the severed finger. Officials at Wendy's say they've checked all of their chili suppliers and none have reported an injury of this kind.
In the wake of Anna's chili finger incident, Wendy's would launch their own investigation into the matter, trying to figure out how this finger got into one of their bowls of chili. Meanwhile, Anna would begin a full-time media campaign against Wendy's, appearing on many mainstream news outlets, and the woman seemed genuinely distraught by what had happened and expressed that she was interested in suing the company for damages.
The woman who says she found a finger in her bowl of chili at a Wendy's in San Jose, California. We turn now to Anna Ayala and her attorney, Jeffrey Janoff, from Mountain View, California.
Well, as I was eating my chili, and I usually crack all my crackers and just put them in there, mix it all around, and started eating the way usually people eat. And suddenly I chew something that's kind of hard, crunchy, spit it out. At first I wasn't sure what it was. And as we started investigating, poking it, other people too, that's when we find that there's something that looks like a nail.
About a week after the story had broke, Wendy's started seeing declining sales in their restaurants, and particularly on the West Coast. It was becoming clear to the company that this situation could be a long-term hindrance to their bottom line if not gracefully resolved, and fast. The public demanded an explanation from Wendy's, but Wendy's had no explanation to give. After a meticulous audit of their own chili supply chain, Wendy's consulted with all 7 suppliers responsible for the manufacturing of their chili product, and none of these suppliers had any record of an employee losing a finger on the job, and no such finger loss incident was reported at the restaurant that served the chili itself. The finger seemed to have just manifested from the ether into this woman's bowl of chili. Wendy's also managed to get their hands on the chili finger itself and sent the finger off to a third-party laboratory for forensic testing. And curiously, the lab analysis revealed that the flesh of the finger was inconsistent with that of cooked human flesh. The significance of this finding is that since the chili finger was uncooked, that meant that it would have had to have been placed in the bowl of chili after the chili itself was cooked, thus pretty much clearing Wendy's supply chain of any wrongdoing. And it's at this point where Wendy's becomes suspicious of the supposed chili finger victim herself, Anna Ayala. After all, she was the only outstanding and uncontrolled variable in this case, and everything looked good on their end of things. So Wendy's ends up hiring private investigators to look into Anna, hoping to uncover anything on the woman that could out her as a bad actor. And what they find about this woman immediately raises some red flags. It turns out that Anna Ayala had a history of filing frivolous lawsuits against large companies in the hopes of getting quick legal payouts. In 2004, Anna had sued Goodyear Tire, claiming that the company was responsible for a wheel falling off of her car. The suit was dismissed without prejudice by the courts. Anna also reportedly tried to sue the El Pollo Loco fast food restaurant in 2004, claiming her daughter contracted salmonella from the food served at this establishment. But according to statements from the company, no such contamination ever existed and the woman didn't receive any payout. After the discovery of these frivolous lawsuits, Wendy's was confident that some fuckery was afoot on behalf of Anna, and they weren't having any of it. Wendy's investigators would consult with the San Jose police regarding the matter, sharing their documentation that proved their supply chain's audit was clean, and their suspicions regarding Anna's litigious history. Police had been dealing with the rise in fraudulent fast food contamination claims since Anna's case had happened, and they, after hearing Wendy's side of the story, started to feel like that case too might be fake. San Jose police ultimately decided to open a criminal investigation into the finger incident in collaboration with the Las Vegas Police Department. This would lead to Las Vegas police searching the home of Anna Ayala and her husband Jamie Placencia on April 8th. The cops rifled through everything, hoping to uncover some human remains that were used for fast food tampering, but after an exhaustive search, they didn't turn up anything. The house was clean. For the time being, Anna and her husband were cleared of any wrongdoing in the matter and were still seen as victims. And Wendy's was left looking like a big jerk for accusing a supposed victim of fingering their own chili. Now desperate to crack this case, Wendy's opens up a chili finger hotline, if you will, offering a $50,000 reward to anyone who can provide information that could potentially lead them to the origin of this damn finger. Naturally, hundreds if not thousands would call the hotline, and almost every tip was completely useless. But one call in particular would prove useful to Wendy's, as this individual would provide damning information about Anna Ayala that would help flip the public's sympathetic nature towards her. This caller would provide a detailed testimony alleging that in 2002 they were a victim of a real estate fraud conspiracy orchestrated by Anna Ayala, and Jamie was involved. While the call wasn't chili finger related, it was Anna related, and this information was passed over to police. After this tip, authorities would take a second look at this couple, and shockingly, this ends up leading to their arrest. But they weren't arrested for chili fingering. Anna was booked for real estate fraud, and Jamie was booked for unpaid child support payments. So by this point, it's pretty clear that Anna and Jamie were indeed the bad actors that Wendy's thought they were, but the problem was that they still didn't have any tangible evidence that directly linked them to the chili finger incident. They just found out that they were alleged criminals from something else. Thus, Wendy's was still faced with the terrible reality of having absolutely no explanation for the finger almost 2 months after the story had broke. Sales continued to plummet, causing gross negative impact on the company, with some reports indicating that Wendy's was losing over $1 million a day since the chili finger story broke all the way back in March.
Now that's a lot of damage!
If they were desperate to crack the case before, now they were down bad. In a last-ditch effort to find the origins of the chili finger, Wendy's would raise the reward payment for the tip line to $100,000, and thankfully for them, this increased reward would yield some new evidence. They got a lead that once again implicated Anna and her husband Jamie. This tip was a call from a Las Vegas asphalt plant operator named Mike Casey. Mr. Casey would explain that Anna's husband Jamie was actually one of his employees, and whenever he heard about the Wendy's chili finger incident and Anna and Jamie's recent arrest, he was reminded that one of his other employees had actually recently lost a finger in an on-the-job accident. That finger-losing employee was 36-year-old Brian Rossiter, and according to Mr. Casey, Rossiter and Jamie often worked together on the job and were friends. The pieces to this chili finger puzzle were finally coming together. This lead was passed along to police, who promptly questioned all parties involved, resulting in the truth finally coming out. Turns out that Brian Rossiter kept his severed finger after getting medical treatment as a keepsake of sorts. And one day, he actually brought this finger to work as this sort of macabre novelty item. Jamie, who happened to be at work on this day, was owed money by Brian Rossiter at the time and offered to squash his $100 debt in exchange for Brian's severed finger. Brian Rossiter agrees to the deal, and Jamie walks away from the trade with this crusty-ass looking finger. A finger that would ultimately be placed into a bowl of 99-cent Wendy's chili by his co-conspirator wife, Anna Ayala, in an attempt to defraud the Wendy's company for potential millions of dollars in a hypothetical damages lawsuit. And to top everything off, a DNA test would show that the finger was a 100% match with the DNA of Brian Rossiter. The case was closed. Both Anna and Jamie are charged with grand theft and conspiracy to file false claims. And in September, the duo would plead guilty to their crimes. Anna was sentenced to serve 9 years in prison, with apparent ringleader Jamie sentenced to serve 12 years and 4 months in prison. The court also ordered the couple to pay over $22 million in restitution to the Wendy's Corporation and employees who were affected from layoffs caused by their chili finger disaster. Needless to say, fast food Bonnie and Clyde got absolutely ransacked by the courts. Wendy's name had been cleared, and with the chili finger incident now proven to be nothing more than a fraudulent hoax, customers began filing back into their stores and folks are slurping chili to this very day. Big ups to the Pepsi pimp. What's fascinating about the Wendy's chili finger case is that this is the only incident in fast food history that I'm aware of where someone was actually imprisoned for contaminating fast food. Most cases usually end up with hoaxers being told to cease and desist or face consequences in civil court from the companies they damage. They almost never end up in the clink for this kind of stuff. But considering the level of panic that this created within the public and just the scale of the damages inflicted on Wendy's by the enactment of this fraud, I think some prison time was definitely warranted. But that was the legend of the Wendy's chili finger. The legend of Waffle House Wendy. Waffle House is a beloved breakfast chain that's an undeniable Southern staple, with hundreds of locations across the country. And yes, if we considered the Chinese buffet a fast food place, we're considering Waffle House a fast food place, goddammit. Just for the sake of this video, okay? Despite their attempts to maintain a family-friendly, wholesome image, in recent years they've been characterized as cheap and somewhat ratchet, with memes regarding their employees getting into fights spreading across the internet. However, there is one particular incident of this nature that stands out, with it being legendary to this day. This is the story of Waffle House Wendy. In September of 2021, a violent fight broke out between customers and Waffle House staff at a restaurant located in Austin, Texas after some sort of disagreement. The incident was caught on camera, with bystanders cheering on the violence. At one point, chairs were being thrown, with one seemingly on a collision course for an employee named Haley Booth. However, instead of being struck down and severely injured like one might expect, she masterfully deflects the chair mid-air, seemingly preventing herself from being injured, and looks ready to throw fists right afterwards, like she's ready to fight.
Oh shit, you are wildin'! Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Y'all wildin'! Y'all wildin'! Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! He was on fire! Yo, they still go. Yo! Oh my God, bro! Oh my God, bro! You wildin'! Yo, chill! You about to go to jail? Chill! Y'all about to go to jail! You wildin'!
Eventually, the violence came to an end, with the footage being uploaded online soon after. Something about these Waffle House workers, man, if you mess with them, they'll kick your ass. I mean, when you attack a Waffle House worker, it's like attacking a guard in a neutral city in an RPG game. While in many cases, clips like these have immediate viral success, it actually wouldn't gain traction until about a year later in late 2022 when it finally exploded in popularity. Because, she's like fucking ultra instincting that chair, like, she saw that shit before it even happened. Perfect deflection. Onlookers were impressed that she had seemingly been unfazed, barely even reacting to having a chair thrown at her, with memes spreading rapidly depicting her as a hero of sorts, with some giving her the nickname Waffle House Wendy, the final boss of all Waffle House workers. This culminated in Haley herself creating a video where she cleared up many misconceptions and gave a more detailed account of her side of the story. Apparently, she had been written up by her boss after he saw her throw a sugar shaker in the security footage that showed the infamous fight. So she left voluntarily and tried to get work at another location. When she tried to apply at a new Waffle House, she was told that she had been blacklisted from working there.
Our boss comes in, he looks at the security footage, and he looks at me, and he looks back at the security footage, and he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna give you a write-up because you threw the sugar shaker, and it broke. When I left, they had told me, you're always welcome at this store, Haley, you know, whatever, you're good. But, oh God, I was blacklisted. So it was kind of like, I can't ever work for Waffle House again. I tried working for another one, like sometime earlier this year, and I had found out that I was blacklisted.
Many were outraged that she was being punished for simply defending herself, with Tucker Carlson even managing to snag an interview with her.
How did you remain so calm?
I really don't know. It kind of just all happened so fast. It was mainly just a pure rush of adrenaline and instinct that just kind of had me going.
Had anyone ever thrown a chair at you before?
I mean, kids get rowdy in middle school, but not like directly at me.
I don't think I've seen an employee calmer under pressure than you. I assume you got some sort of award and special bonus from Waffle House corporate. How big was your bonus?
I actually didn't get any bonus of it. The only thing that I did get from the fight was a write-up for breaking the sugar shaker. So, and you know, telling them telling me, you know, hey, we're gonna write you up for the sugar shaker, but you did a good job, you know, protecting the store, making sure that you were all right.
Wait, you were written up for breaking a sugar shaker when someone threw a chair at you?
Yes, sir.
After the dust had settled and people had an idea of what actually happened, Haley was approached by Rolling Stone for a phone interview where she gave them even more details about her life after the incident. According to her, she was extremely grateful for all the support and had even envisioned creating merchandise to capitalize on her viral success even further. Since then, it seems she's maintained a more low-key internet presence ever since the fanfare surrounding her fizzled out. While she did enjoy her 15 minutes of fame, it seems as though any attempt at leveraging her fame into any sort of meaningful online career has fallen flat on its face. But in the grand scheme of things, this is most likely for the best. The Popeyes Chicken Killer. The story of the Popeyes Chicken Killer begins in October of 2019. After quickly selling out of chicken sandwiches back in September, the public was demanding Popeyes bring back the item for those who missed out on the initial limited release. Being fans of money, Popeyes obliged. And on October 28th, the chicken chain would announce via another cheeky tweet targeting Chick-fil-A that the sandwich was returning to stores on November 3rd. This announcement naturally set the internet ablaze. And finally, once the day of November 3rd arrived, all hell broke loose once again.
This video, posted by Murder Inc. Sunday, shows a group of employees physically fighting in the back of the store.
They're fighting each other. People are fighting the employees in the parking lots, in the streets. It's getting out of control. No other chicken place is dealing with this.
We need to have security out here. The neighbors, Wendy's, Wenco, are complaining of the disturbance of the cars lining up all the way through their properties. So we're going to have to shut down.
While night one of the Popeyes chicken sandwich re-release proved to be quite the disorderly spectacle, no one was seriously injured during this frenzy. But the same couldn't be said for the following evening. On the night of November 4th, Chicken Mania was still sweeping the nation with long lines spilling out of Popeyes around the country. And it would be in one of these lines filled with hungry visitors that a tragic scenario would unfold. The location was the Popeyes at the 6200 block of Oxon Hill, Maryland. 32-year-old Rico McLean is in line with several other restaurant visitors, all trying to get their hands on a meal. With folks experiencing above-average wait times for their meals, the environment is tense and folks are very defensive regarding their position in line. The last thing you'd want to do in a situation like this is try to jump the queue. And with that being said, enter 27-year-old Kevin Davis. Davis was also in line for Popeyes on this eventful evening, but at some point while waiting, Kevin reportedly makes the decision to cut in front of several restaurant patrons in line. It's at this point where Rico McLean angrily confronts Mr. Davis, leading to a verbal altercation between the two men that only becomes more heated as time passes. Eventually, Rico McLean and Kevin Davis decide to take the matter outside, presumably to squash the beef with their fists. But as the men exit the Popeyes building door, that's when Rico McLean almost immediately produces a knife and lunges at Kevin, stabbing him in his upper torso, the blow mortally wounding the man. After the cowardly stabbing, Rico McLean would flee the area, leaving Kevin for dead. Nearby witnesses would call police and first responders would escort the rapidly deteriorating man to the hospital. Unfortunately, medical personnel were unable to save him and Kevin passed away later that evening. And what began as an exciting night ended in the tragic murder of a young man. And the situation was only made worse because Rico McLean was attempting to evade justice. He was on the run and in hiding. Unaware of the man's identity at the time of the murder, police would release surveillance footage from Popeyes showing their unidentified suspect and naming his female companion a person of interest in the murder of Kevin Davis. Because the stabbing occurred during the midst of the Popeyes chicken sandwich hype, it became inextricably linked to the sandwich's release and would make national news headlines.
Now to Maryland, where a man was stabbed to death outside a Popeyes restaurant. Police say the stabbing happened over a fight about the fast food chain's chicken sandwich. You heard me right. They added that it appears that one man may have cut in front of another one in a line.
At the Popeyes in Oxon Hill today, candles burned for the victim, 28-year-old Kevin Tyrell Davis of Oxon Hill. Meanwhile, customers inside continued to stand in long lines to get the sandwich and were shocked by the circumstances.
It's very, very crazy just to stab somebody over a chicken sandwich. If they had talked to me, I said, man, I'll go buy you a chicken sandwich if you don't stab that person. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
With so much attention being granted to this case by way of the Popeyes hype, it was only a matter of time before someone would come forward and reveal the killer's identity. Law enforcement would eventually get a tip, and 10 days after the stabbing had taken place, on November 14th, Rico McLean was identified as the suspect and police would arrive at his home in Capitol Heights, just 20 minutes from the crime scene. Rico McLean was then arrested, jailed, and charged with first-degree murder, second-degree murder, first-degree assault, and second-degree assault.
Stawinski said the accused killer, Rico McLean, was caught yesterday at a home in Capitol Heights on Nova Avenue. And Stawinski said he does not expect anyone else will be charged in the case, either as an accomplice or for helping McLean hide from the law. And something else here, Stawinski said persistent conversations also on social media that somehow the victim and the suspect knew each other and had some kind of ongoing dispute are simply not true, period. Davis is accused of cutting the line, and McLean is accused of killing him for it.
The killer would later be found guilty of second-degree murder, and in September of 2022, Rico McLean was sentenced to serve 22 years in prison for the callous killing of 27-year-old Kevin Davis. Prosecutors were hoping to get 30 years or more for Rico McLean, but the judge decided to go with the lower sentencing option here in consideration of McLean's children. Due to state sentencing rules in Maryland, Rico McLean will only have to serve a minimum of 50% of his sentence, meaning that he could hypothetically get out of prison in around 10 years, which would technically sort of, I guess, give him some years of raising his children in their formative years, I guess is what the judge is thinking here. I don't know. Whatever the case, it's a sad and disturbing story. A young man's life taken far too soon just because some guy got minorly inconvenienced in a Popeyes and thought the way you solve that problem is by stabbing them. Rest in peace to Kevin. Popeyes is by no means directly responsible for the actions of its restaurant visitors, but it's simply bizarre to me that such a mania can be created over something as trivial as a chicken sandwich. In the age of social media, we've seen similar scenes play out time and time again. All it takes is for a company to engineer some viral moment online and mix that in with an illusion of scarcity. Folks are going to be knocking down doors trying to get their hands on whatever you're shilling. Herpes in McDonald's McChicken. Yep, you heard that title right. Back in 2014, it was being reported that a 31-year-old woman named Lisa McDowell had a harrowing experience with her McDonald's McChicken sandwich. According to the woman, when she was eating her chicken sandwich, she noted something off about the texture of the mayonnaise. It was slimy and salty. And after peeling off the bun, she discovers what appears to be a large glob of semen sitting atop the mayonnaise. And to make matters worse, it was being reported that the woman contracted herpes in her mouth and lips from consuming this semen-infused mayonnaise. Reports say that health inspectors looked into the matter, tested the semen, finding it not only positive for herpes, but also linked it to 2 restaurant workers at the McDonald's. These 2 employees were promptly fired, and articles discussing the matter provide this purported statement from the McDonald's manager responsible for these employees. We can't always keep an eye on our employees' conduct. We can only hope during the interview process that we are able to hire employees that meet our company's standards. Pretty disgusting, right? But did this actually happen?
No way. It's an urban legend that never happened.
So yeah, this story is completely fake. Lisa McDowell isn't a real person, and McDonald's never had an incident like this. Semen being found in mayonnaise is a viral internet hoax that has existed in various forms online since the early 1990s. It's literally just a clickbait story that these spoof news websites make to bring in traffic. Internet spoof articles have reported semen being found in tacos, pizza, shawarma, curry, hamburgers, literally anything you can think of. It's all bogus. There has literally never been a confirmed case of semen being found in someone's fast food, and let's hope it stays that way.
Number 15, McDonald's cum sandwich. The last thing you'd want in your McDonald's sandwich is someone's cum.
The Popeyes Fried Rat Head. This image on screen may look familiar to some of you. Back in September of 2016, a woman from New York City named Rosemary visited a South Harlem Popeyes location only to be served what appeared to be a deep fried rat head. The woman took to Facebook with her findings, sharing the photos and her testimony of the incident, and this story would go viral. Her post read, "Friends and family, this is a meal Popeyes in Harlem served my daughter, my niece, and sister. This is clearly a rat, and they have the nerve to have a 5-star rating by the Department of Health. People, please feel free to share this picture. Think about all the other rat that have been served and the lasting effect that this will have on my daughter, niece, and sister." The exact address is 2730 Frederick Douglass Boulevard. It was being reported that Rosemary was looking into legal solutions for this matter. But curiously, like the KFC Fried Rat case we just discussed, as soon as Popeyes starts reaching out to the customer in question, that's when the claimant's story just gets sussy. According to reports, a Popeyes rep had actually gotten into contact with Rosemary and agreed to meet with her to get a sample of the head for testing. But when the time came for the meeting, Rosemary allegedly postponed the meet, and ever since postponing, Popeyes hasn't been able to get the woman to reschedule or submit the head for DNA testing. A Popeyes spokeswoman told Snopes.com that the restaurant in question underwent a health inspection after the incident, and health inspectors determined that the restaurant contained no signs of vermin or prior vermin activity. Additionally, Popeyes suppliers would make the claim that the object shown in the photo wasn't a rat head, it was actually just a piece of chicken organ meat. And yes, I get that this is quite a convincing looking photo, but I'd like to show you a video of a man finding a chicken liver in his Popeyes meal. Take a look at this.
Went by Popeyes and got chicken for dinner, and inside of the chicken box was this chicken, I'm not sure it's breast or thigh, because attached to this is what appears to be either a chicken heart or a chicken liver. No idea what that is. I think it's a heart. It looks like a heart. But that's, you know.
Yeah, so after seeing that, do you still think this is a rat head? Now, I want to stress that this claim has never officially been debunked, and Rosemary may very well have been served a rat head, but nothing official has ever been determined about this case. And in my opinion, especially after looking at that man's video, I think the story is bogus. Chiefin at Checkers. In October of 2016, an employee named Richard Benson and his co-workers decided to start live streaming to Facebook, presumably out of sheer boredom. Now, while goofing around on the job like this isn't uncommon, it was the thing said during the stream that got people's attention. Upon watching re-uploads of the stream, you can see and hear Benson making numerous disturbing claims, including that he's actually taking bites or eating burgers that are supposed to be served to customers.
This is not my burger, it's doing some thick.
At one point, he even goes as far as saying that if his ops came to the restaurant, he would take the buns of the burgers that they ordered and wipe them on the floor before serving.
When our ops come through, this is what we gotta do to them. I'm about to drop this on the, I'm about to wash the floor with these birds.
Bro was ready to catch his ops lacking. They continued to dig their hole even deeper as the stream went on, with Benson saying that he didn't see the point of using gloves while making food. You know, just like a complete disregard for standard health practices.
What do you say? What's the point of wearing gloves is what? So your hands don't get dirty. She talking about your look.
Gloves, man.
You're slacking. Look at him.
I'll make this bare hands, man. I scratch my head and make a burger.
The cart, bro.
According to the Checkers website, in basic common sense, regularly changing your gloves and washing your hands while making food is absolutely mandatory, with the employees displaying a flippant attitude the entire time. Towards the end, you can also clearly see the man smoking what looks to be a blunt, though official sources claim that it was simply a cigar or a cigarette. After the live stream, the group of coworkers decided it would probably be best if they deleted it, apparently just assuming that nobody would care enough to report the incident. Unfortunately for this group, it turns out, most people become pretty alarmed when restaurant employees are bragging about messing with food that they're giving to the public. And this is being streamed online as well. The message got spread across the internet and people were kind of worried about these people. Many in the online community that saw this video were shocked and appalled given the fact that some individuals watching this stream had actually eaten at the Checkers that was being showcased in this disgusting live stream, with Checkers corporate quickly scrambling to try and salvage their damaged image. Benson was, of course, immediately fired along with several of his co-workers, with the company claiming that they would also be retraining their staff in an effort to rehabilitate the restaurant. It also wouldn't be long before Richard himself would speak out in his defense. According to an interview conducted by NBC 10, Benson claims he was joking the entire time and would never actually do any of the things that he described.
And now on top of that, I'm a comedian. I rap a lot, like I love. So it's more like to get people to, oh, now we know who he is. Then when I promote a CD or something, it's like, oh, that's the boy from Checkers that, oh, his song hot, It's basically a publicity stunt, and it went wrong. Like, I didn't even post it. The crazy thing is, I was going live. When you done going live, they ask you, do you want to post it or delete it? I deleted it.
He was a self-described rapper and comedian and called the whole thing a publicity stunt, though suffice to say his jokes weren't landing. In complete fairness, there was no conclusive proof that they actually messed with any of the food that had been served to customers. That being said, according to an article from Inquirer, the restaurant had already been due for a re-inspection after the unsatisfactory review from the Philadelphia Department of Health that had been given just a month prior. The restaurant had apparently closed its doors without being prompted by the authorities and issued a statement condemning the incident, though this did little to quell the backlash. Benson expressed regret at himself and the others fired, but made it a point to emphasize that they had never done anything to mess with the integrity of the food they had served to customers, though he definitely did smoke inside of the kitchen. Reports regarding the incident eventually stopped, and the Checkers in question is currently closed down, seemingly for good. While it's hard to tell if the incident is the exact reason for the closure, it's hard to imagine that it didn't at least play somewhat of a role. Interestingly, a similar Checkers incident had occurred just a year prior in 2015, where employees did actually wipe buns on the floor, and this was a national news story covered by numerous mainstream media organizations.
There's just one word for this: disgusting. An employee at the fast food chain Checkers intentionally drops a hamburger bun on the floor, wipes it around, then prepares it like business as usual. It was recorded on a cell phone by her coworker. One guy seems shocked.
Oh my God, yo. At the end of the day, the workers in question were more than likely just bored and didn't really do any contaminations, but going live with this kind of stuff, you gotta remember, man, once you post something online, it's there forever. Good luck getting a job in the food industry after this stunt. Burger King's deadly Pokeballs. In 1999, during the promotion for the first Pokemon movie, Burger King held a $22 million promotion for the movie, releasing a set of 57 miniature Pokemon toys which were contained within small Pokeballs measuring 3 inches in diameter. Burger King distributed the toys through their Big Kids meal and regular kids meals, and the promotion was set to last through November and December of 1999. These Pokeballs were manufactured by Equity Marketing Inc. in Los Angeles, California, and could be opened by pulling the two halves of the Pokeballs apart, revealing the Pokemon toy inside. Now, for you true 90s kids out there, you most definitely remember this promotion. It was a massive deal, and I remember having multiple of these toys, as a kid. It's a fucking miracle that I'm still alive, considering what I'm about to detail to you all. Yes, in '99, the Pokemon craze was at its height, and this toy run was a massive hit for Burger King. Restaurants were wrapped with customers attempting to get their hands on Pokeballs, and unsurprisingly, shortages occurred. These BK Pokeballs were such a fixture of public interest at the time that the Burger King president of North America even went as far as running newspaper advertisements apologizing to the public when there were shortages. However, what we'll soon find is that shortages would be the least of Burger King's problems, as an insidious design flaw within the Pokeball itself would begin to reveal itself. A design flaw with lethal consequences, might I add. On December 11th of 1999, it was being reported that a 13-month-old girl in Sonora, California was found unresponsive in her playpen by family members. When she was turned over, the family discovered that the girl had a Pokeball suctioned to her face, one side covering her mouth and the other her nose. The Pokeball had suctioned to the toddler's mouth, and she had suffocated to death. After this tragedy was revealed to the public, the local sheriff's department issued a warning about the Burger King Pokeballs, citing the toy as the cause of the infant's tragic passing. It was noted that the small diameter and concave structure of the Pokeball made it particularly susceptible to suctioning. A teething baby could chew on the toy, manipulating it in a way where an airtight seal would be made, posing major suffocation risk. This was the first time in history a Burger King toy had been associated with the death of a child, but the burger giant would initially attempt to shirk responsibility regarding the matter, claiming that there wasn't enough conclusive evidence to prove that their toy was the direct cause of the child's death, and that the kid's passing could have possibly been due to completely unrelated factors. Despite the ball being found on her mouth, but okay. They said this, but then it happened again. On December 23rd of 1999, 2 days before Christmas, a girl from Kansas reportedly got half of a Pokeball stuck on her nose and mouth and nearly suffocated in her own home. Thankfully, the girl's parents managed to remove the suction seal before she was killed. She would receive treatment and suffered no serious injuries. This second incident was reported by news media and raised eyebrows among the public. They couldn't ignore the Pokeball flaw any longer. This second incident left Burger King with no other option than to act. Public pressure was mounting and consumer panic along with it. So with this in consideration, Burger King Pokeballs would cease distribution immediately and a recall would be issued. And by Christmas Eve of 1999, all Burger King toys were removed from stores. Several days later, on December 29th of 1999, a nationwide recall was issued. Along with this recall came several ominous warnings released to the public by Burger King that were on both print and television. Burger King issued a statement to parents urging them to immediately take away all Pokeball containers from children ages 3 and younger. The most disturbing thing to come out of the recall outside of the death and injuries themselves was a $1 million TV ad campaign which ominously urged parents to return the deadly children's toys.
Burger King and the U.S. Consumer Consumer Product Safety Commission want you to know about the voluntary recall of this Pokemon Pokeball. The ball may pose a suffocation hazard to children under 3. Throw the ball away or return it to Burger King. The safety of your child is of the utmost importance to us.
And while these creepy television ads were certainly effective in getting attention of the public and urging them to recall the Pokeballs, sadly, deaths were still occurring as Pokeballs were out in circulation still. While the recall campaign was ongoing, a 4-month-old boy in Indianapolis, Indiana would fall victim to one of the deadly balls, the Pokeball suctioning to his face, causing the child to suffocate in his crib. And in true macabre fashion, the more deaths occurred, the faster the word spread about the recall. And eventually enough death would occur that awareness would be high enough that most parents were finally privy to the fact that these Pokemon toys were dangerous. Parents would begin destroying them en masse, and eventually this crisis would come to an end. In the wake of this Pokeball crisis, Burger King received heavy criticism for their initial reluctance to initiate a recall of their toy. Equity Marketing, the company that made the toys, rebutted critics, stating that before launching the toys, they ensured that the Pokeball containers met or exceeded federal safety guidelines and underwent an exuberant amount of safety testing by an independent third-party lab before, during, and after production of the balls. They said that they checked all the federal safety guideline boxes in the process of making the Pokeball product. However, the issue was that while the toy had passed all the regulatory child choke tests, these parameters did not assess the risk for suction, which was the way that the Pokeballs killed. The toy's design flaw was a blind spot for both Burger King and the Consumer Product Safety Commission. And in part because of this high-profile case, toys nowadays are tested for suctioning risks. As far as compensation for victims, the parents of the 13-month-old girl that passed from the Burger King Pokeballs would file suit against the company and would win a monetary settlement from the corporation. The exact dollar amount awarded has been kept confidential. It's not known if any other victims' families won in legal action against the company, but it goes without saying they deserve something for what these Pokeballs put them through. In what's likely one of the darkest children's toy recalls in American history, those were the deadly Burger King Pokeballs. Succulent Chinese meal and the story of Democracy Manifest guy. Gonna let you guys know before we start, you need to buckle up because this story is a wild ride. There's a viral video that has been floating around on the internet now for over 10 years and it goes by 2 names, those names being Democracy Manifest and Succulent Chinese Meal. Despite the names associated with the video, it has little to do with politics or a plate of sweet and sour chicken. Rather, the video showcases a man being arrested, apparently for dine and dashing at a Chinese restaurant located in Sydney, Australia. This crook is an eloquent wordsmith, and Democracy Manifest and Succulent Chinese Meal are just 2 of the charismatically stated phrases that he speaks when he's being arrested.
Under arrest. Look, I'm under what? Gentlemen, this is Democracy Manifest. Have a look at the headlock here. See that chap over there? Get your hand off my penis! For what reason? What is the charge? Eating a meal? A succulent Chinese meal? And you, sir, are you waiting to receive my limp penis? How dare get your hands off me.
Since the video was discovered in the late 2000s, people have worked tirelessly to piece together the backstory behind it, and more importantly, the man in it. A commonly accepted theory is that the man in the footage was a now deceased world-renowned Hungarian chess player with a penchant for petty crimes and Chinese cuisine. People have believed this theory for years, but does it hold any weight? Well, recent developments have poked holes in this explanation. Today I'm going to navigate through the misinformation surrounding this video and hopefully piece together the real story behind the enigma that is Democracy Manifest / Succulent Chinese Meal Guy. The story of this video and its online spread begins like the spread of many other viral YouTube videos on a small random channel. A user known as Illtown20 uploaded Democracy Manifest to his YouTube channel on January 12th of 2009. Upon watching the video, it becomes clear after considering the footage quality and appearance of the men in it that the footage itself is much older than the date of its upload. Nothing in the description indicated what the original date might have been, but it's clearly old. The description of this video did provide some useful information in regards to the context of this video, as it was the first indication that the man in it may have been some kind of Hungarian chess player. The description read, "Funny drunk man, Paul Charles Doja, hungry Hungarian, original succulent Chinese meal, receive my limp, nice headlock, sir." Surprisingly, there's quite the plethora of information available online about this Paul Charles Doja character, and what curious internet sleuths uncovered painted him as quite the eccentric character. Paul Charles Doja was a chess grandmaster who had been participating in worldwide chess tournaments dating back to at least the 1950s. His ChessGames.com record provides a brief excerpt of biographical information about him. Paul Charles Doja was born in Szeged, Hungary in 1940. In the mid-1960s, he immigrated to Australia. He died in Melbourne in 2003, age 63. An eccentric character, he was repeatedly convicted of dining in restaurants then declining to pay his bill. Further research showed that Doja was for all intents and purposes a wanted international criminal with over 100 charges, almost all of his crimes resulting from restaurant food thefts. He was known by police as the restaurant runner. He was wanted in several countries including Hungary, Indonesia, New Zealand, and Australia for dining at expensive restaurants and hotels, then running out before the bill came. The description of Paul Charles Doja as this serial dine and dasher certainly syncs up with the behavior showcased in the Democracy Manifest video. And when you compare a photo of Doja with a still image of the man in the Democracy Manifest video clip, it does look like the same person. Fans of the Democracy Manifest video have also dug up old 1990s news clippings that seem to describe a situation that is being displayed in the Democracy Manifest video, and Paul Charles Doja is attributed to the crime/arrest. Ex-chef fined after refusing to pay bills for meals he ate. Sydney, Australia. A former chef who dines at expensive restaurants and then pleads poverty has been convicted for the 54th time of refusing to pay for a meal. Paul Charles Doja, 48, dubbed the restaurant runner by local newspapers, was fined $160 on Monday for refusing to pay a $50 bill at a Chinese restaurant. The following day, he dined out at the 5-star Sheraton Wentworth Hotel, then told the staff he could not pay for the $48 check. He was fined $200 for that offense on Wednesday and ordered to compensate the restaurant. So not only do you have the physical similarities here in the face of Doja compared to Democracy Manifest guy, you've also got newspaper clippings that are stating that a Paul Charles Doja was responsible for a Chinese meal theft at some point. When you put these two factors together, it almost seems like 100% slam dunk confirmed that Paul Charles Doja was the Democracy Manifest guy. And the backstory of Democracy Manifest has been reported this way online by various media sources for years. That story being that Democracy Manifest was a video showcasing one of the many arrests of the now deceased international criminal chess grandmaster Paul Charles Doja. It's a logical narrative that makes sense. But what if I told you all we've been fed misinformation this entire time and the Paul Charles Doja story being Democracy Manifest guy is completely bogus? Well, that certainly seems like the case because we now have a much better Democracy Manifest candidate, a man that's still alive. Allow me to explain. In recent years, an Australian man living in Brisbane has been claiming personhood of Democracy Manifest guy, and he has an extremely convincing case for himself. He goes by the name Jack K, but this is an alias of sorts. His real name is reportedly Cecil George Edwards. Footage has popped up online featuring this Jack K guy speaking, and he looks and sounds scarily similar to the original Democracy Manifest guy.
Democracy Manifest. Gentlemen, this is Democracy Manifest.
This same Jack K fellow was also featured in a viral music video produced by an Australian band called The Chats, where in the video he played the Democracy Manifest guy in a recreated skit of sorts.
This is Democracy Manifest. God, you've done it. You've done judo before, haven't you? Magnificently so.
Okay, so we have a guy that looks and sounds like Democracy Manifest guy, and some Australian punk rock bands seem to think it was him. What if it's just a really good impersonator? Well, this doesn't appear to be the case. It seems like Jack K's legit. I say this because very recently he did an interview with Sportsbet, and in this interview he showcased never before seen footage of the Democracy Manifest video. This footage was a news commentated version of it, and in the news commentated version, it clearly attributes a man named Cecil George Edwards to the crime of succulent Chinese meal theft. Here's a brief clip from the interview which showcases Jack K / Cecil George Edwards speaking, and it also includes the commentated news clip I talked about a moment ago. If you want to watch the full interview, feel free to check out the link in the description box.
You see me? I am Mr. Democracy Manifest, not some Hungarian chess player. It is I. Surrounded the place and come and arrested me.
When Cecil George Edwards was arrested in the Chinatown Mall last Friday, the Valley Police thought they had one of Queensland's most wanted. Instead, he was a petty criminal working under several aliases, the police allege, a con man with a flair for acting. Cecil George Edwards was.
So yeah, it looks like Cecil George Edwards / Jack K is Democracy Manifest guy confirmed? But I know you're thinking, Wavy, what about those old newspaper clippings from the 1990s? Those clippings said that Paul Charles Dozier did the crime, and the situation mirrors the Democracy Manifest video. What's up with that? Well, the truth is a bit complicated, but I'll try to explain. What the case here seems to be is that these articles were actually written about a completely different Chinese meal arrest incident in which Paul Charles Dozier was apprehended. Apparently, Cecil George Edwards was arrested in a botched sting operation of sorts that was intended to arrest Dozier at a Chinese restaurant that both men frequented. The two men looked similar in appearance, so police mistook Cecil George Edwards for Dozier. Thus, Edwards was arrested by mistake, and Democracy Manifest was born. Sometime later, Dozier would be arrested and convicted for a completely different Chinese meal incident, resulting in these newspaper clippings that attribute Dozier with the crime. So basically, these newspaper clippings actually have nothing to do with the Democracy Manifest video. It's just a very similar situation, and one I could see people getting confused about. Additionally, recall that the commentated news footage indeed says that Cecil George Edwards was the man arrested in the footage, not Dozier.
Cecil George Edwards was.
So yes, I think at this point it's fair to say that we can confirm that Democracy Manifest guy is not some chess player, he's not dead, he's alive and well, and his name is Jack K / Cecil George Edwards. And if you're skeptical about the name change from Cecil George Edwards to Jack K, as it's not 100% confirmed by any sort of document at this point, recall the reporter in the clip stating that Cecil George Edwards was a man known for, quote, working under several aliases.
Instead, he was a petty criminal working under several aliases.
Is it that far out of the realm of possibility that Jack K is just the latest name change? When you consider Jack K's appearance, voice, and exclusive footage that he's able to provide, I'm convinced that this is very much the case, and Jack K and Cecil George Edwards are one and the same. It's impossible to say why Jack K has waited this long to capitalize on the meme, but it looks like he's finally owning it. And to say he's making a profit off of his memehood would be an understatement. Jack K now has an Instagram page called Mr. Democracy Manifest, where he showcases the many paintings he has created, even selling some of them to interested buyers. Additionally, either him or someone affiliated with him has created a website. On this website you can purchase some Get Your Hands Off My Pinot wine and other various Democracy Manifest meme related items. This has been an exhausting story to tell. It's a labyrinth for sure. It looks like we really have found Democracy Manifest guy, and he's not some Hungarian chess player. The McDonald's strip search hoax. It's an incident involving a deeply unsettling crime that affected an 18-year-old employee. A crime that was facilitated due to the incompetence and negligence showcased by her management. On April 9th, 2004, at a McDonald's location in Mount Washington, Kentucky, assistant manager Donna Summers was working her shift when she got a phone call in her back office. Summers picked up the phone, and to the woman's surprise, the man on the line identified himself as a police officer, a man going by the name Officer Scott. Officer Scott promptly informed the assistant manager that one of her employees, 18-year-old Louise Ogborn, was reported to police by a customer who claimed that Louise had stolen money from them at the restaurant. As a part of this policeman's investigation, the officer requested assistant manager Donna Summers to bring Louise to the manager's office and perform a search of the employee, under the premise of finding this allegedly stolen money. Donna Summers was initially skeptical at the claims made by the officer. However, the man on the phone was able to accurately describe Louise's physical appearance, and the man was able to put together a believable story that Donna Summers eventually believed to be legitimate. Under the assumption that she was aiding in a legit police investigation, while still on the phone with the officer, Donna summoned Louise to her office. And from here, things take a bizarrely dark turn. After Louise was in the office with Summers, Officer Scott ordered Donna Summers to perform a strip search on the employee. Under guidance from this disembodied authority figure, the assistant manager meticulously searched the clothing of Louise, to the point where the only article of clothing worn by the woman was a restaurant apron. Nothing had been found on Louise throughout this meticulous search. In hindsight, it's clear that something unusual was going down here, but Donna Summers didn't necessarily see a problem with this very particular search that the officer was ordering her to do. After about 30 minutes into the search, with Officer Scott requesting more interrogation done on the woman, Donna Summers would apparently express that this investigation was taking too much of her time and was interfering with operations of the restaurant. The assistant manager would then leave the room and pass the phone along to another employee, 27-year-old Jason Bradley. Bradley was tasked with watching the accused Louise Ogborn until Donna Summers could return. Jason Bradley, now at the helm of the phone, began speaking with this alleged policeman. In subsequent interviews performed with Jason Bradley after this incident, the man claims that he felt that something was suspicious about the legitimacy of the officer on the line. 18-year-old Louise was terrified at this point, almost naked, and had been thoroughly searched with nothing found. The man thought, why wasn't the officer physically present if this was such a big deal? However, despite his suspicions, Jason Bradley would keep the phone line open with Officer Scott. After engaging in small talk with Officer Scott, sometime later, manager Donna Summers would return to inform those in the office of a rather unusual plan of action that was to take place. She informed everybody in the office that since the restaurant was so poorly staffed and that they were busy and couldn't really handle this on their own, that she had called her fiance, a man named Walter Nix, and this man would be coming to the restaurant to aid in the interrogation of Louise Ogborn. Walter Nix was not a McDonald's employee and by no means should have been involved in this situation. But what becomes apparent as this story progresses is that Louise's management and her fellow McDonald's employees were deeply incompetent. After all, nobody had taken any action or raised an eyebrow at the concerning path that this bizarre investigation had gone down. An investigation being helmed by an officer that none of them had met. And sadly, Summers' boyfriend, Walter Nix's involvement in this situation would cause the entire McDonald's strip search incident to become far darker. Walter Nix would arrive and man the phone sometime later, and what follows is 2 hours of Nix taking orders from Officer Scott on the phone, orders that led to unspeakable abuse against Louise, including but not limited to sexual assault. The terrified woman, feeling compelled to stay and endure this treatment, incident under fear of getting in trouble with police. After being assaulted under orders from Officer Scott, Walter Nix would leave the room, and Assistant Manager Donna Summers would then send in staff custodian 58-year-old Tom Sims to speak with the police officer. Thankfully, Mr. Sims would be the man to break the chain of abuse that was occurring against this poor employee. Upon manning the phones, Officer Scott then instructed Custodian Sims to remove Louise's apron. The custodian, who was already confused by the situation at hand, became extremely concerned upon hearing this request and felt that his fellow employees had played into the hands of some sort of twisted deviant, posing as an officer. The custodian immediately got Assistant Manager Donna Summers and explained to her that they had likely just been duped, asserting that Officer Scott was a fraud and his call was a hoax. It would be at this moment that Officer Scott would end the phone call. After this development, Donna had finally come to the same disturbing realization that Custodian Sims had. The employees had assisted some freak out there in abusing Louise. McDonald's upper management were soon notified about the situation, and it wouldn't be long until police would arrive as well. A criminal investigation and inquiry was launched into the abuse of Louise Ogborn, and authorities sought out to find the man that made the Officer Scott phone call. What Donna Summers and her employees didn't realize at the time of this incident taking place was that there was a serial hoax caller on the loose. An unknown man had been making threatening phone calls all around the US to individuals and businesses, impersonating authority figures and using blackmail to compel workers to perform sadistic acts that fulfilled his own sexual fantasies, most of which targeted fast food restaurants or retail stores. And after a long investigation, police would name a suspect. The man behind the McDonald's strip search call and many others was alleged by police to be 38-year-old David R. Stewart, a Walmart security guard from Panama City, Florida. According to police, David R. Stewart was found to have been in the possession of phone cards associated with call log data from the aforementioned abuse hoax calls, and police had surveillance footage of Stewart purchasing these very cards. As a result of what happened to Louise at McDonald's in Mount Washington, Kentucky, David Stewart was arrested on June 30th of 2004 and was charged with impersonating a police officer and solicitation of sodomy. Walter Nix, Louise's most serious in-person abuser, was brought in on charges of sodomy and assault. The man would later be found guilty and sentenced to serve 5 years in prison. Donna Summers, whose negligence helped facilitate the abuse of Louise, was convicted on misdemeanor charges and was sentenced to serve a year of probation. And what would become of David Stewart, the man alleged to have been behind this hoax call? Well, David Stewart was facing up to 15 years in prison for his alleged crimes. But during trial, the prosecution failed to provide any direct evidence proving David was the voice in the hoax call, as sadly, despite there being video recording from inside the McDonald's, the camera did not capture audio, nor was the phone call recorded in any other way. While police had connected him to the purchasing of phone cards related to hoax calls, the proof was only circumstantial in relation to the McDonald's case. Because of this, the jury did not find the man guilty, and he was acquitted of any criminal wrongdoing. Curiously, hoax calls of this sort completely stopped afterwards. The accused man has never spent a day in prison stemming from this incident despite evidence linking him to the crime, and he maintains a clean criminal record. As for Louise, the tragic victim of the McDonald's hoax call, in 2007, she would file a massive lawsuit against McDonald's, asking for $200 million in damages. Attorneys for McDonald's claim that the blame mostly belonged to Donna Summers for not recognizing the hoax and not the greater company, but in the end they were found liable. Ultimately, Louise was awarded $1.1 million in punitive damages resulting from this case. And bizarrely enough, Donna Summers, the assistant manager, was awarded $400,000 herself in a separate civil suit filed against McDonald's. The premise of the case stating that McDonald's failed management by not informing them of the threat of hoax callers at the time. It's extremely frustrating that whoever was behind this call was never caught and brought to justice. And in all honesty, if you ask me, Louise should have got way more money than what she got from these McDonald's lawsuits. The legacy of this case is deeply unsettling to say the least. In my opinion, this is likely the most disturbing fast food disaster in history, and will live on as a cautionary tale showcasing the abuse of authority figures and why one should always be weary when communicating with someone under anonymity.